Hi, this is Dale Lear, designer of TRS-80 Color Baseball, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
This is CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer, with your host, Mr. Gameplay Goodness himself, Stevie Stroh. All right, everybody, welcome to CoCoTALK episode 35. How are we, everybody?
Good. I like the new theme.
Good.
Yeah, good.
Bruce Moore has not disappointed us once again. Welcome, and we are in episode 35. Today is November the 25th. This is Thanksgiving weekend. Technically, what is this? Gray Saturday. We just left Black Friday. We're on Gray Saturday, sliding into Teal Sunday, and we wrap things up with Cyber Monday. I don't know all the color codes at this point. But we got a great panel for us. As always, on the show, we have Grant Leighty. How are you today, Grant?
Hey, doing pretty good.
Live from the garage, we have Ron Delvaux of Ron's Garage. Hello, Ronnie. Feel free to not acknowledge us at all, Ron. That's fine. All the way from down under, Nick Marents. Nick, what is it, 2 in the morning for you right now?
Yes, 3 a.m.
3 a.m. Good day, and thanks for getting up early as always.
Or did he stay up late? That's the question.
Did he even go to bed?
We have Mark Overholser with us as well. Hello, Mark.
Hello.
From Boyson Technologies, Richard Lorbieski is with us. From the Great White North, we have 2/3 of the NitrOS9 team, L. Curtis Boyle and Bill Nobel. How's it going, eh?
Good day.
Good day, eh? All the way from sunny California, Mr. Steve Bjork is with us.
Hey, how's everybody doing?
We're doing good. And last, but certainly not least, host of the CoCo Crew podcast, the caretaker and coordinator of Retro Challenge and just all-around cool guy and retro aficionado, Mr. John W. Linville. Thanks for joining us today, John, as well.
Yes, hello. Greetings, everyone.
And by the way, great episode 30 on the CoCo Crew podcast. I am still listening to it. I think I got up to the interview, but I am using the pause button, and I do listen throughout the week. I don't scrub; I just pause. I do consume the entire show.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, we thought this was a pretty good one with all the Infocom content.
Yeah. So once again, thanks for that and for all you do. Steve Powell is in the live chat. Okay, so Paul Thayer's in the live chat saying he sent a request. I don't know if you see that, Grant.
Yes,
Grant,
I do.
Okay, Grant is our Skype engineer, so Grant is managing Skype for us. We're slowly becoming a very well-produced and professional show here. Give us another 16, 17 years, and we'll be halfway there, folks. So, good times and good on you. So, yeah, Thanksgiving just came for those of us in the United States. Canada had their Thanksgiving already.
In October, Yep.
Ron Klein says, hi, everyone. And Ron, you're welcome to join us. Love to have you. And I did reach out, and I asked people in the community to tell us what they were thankful for. And I'm going to run a couple of those now because there's a few of our regular panel members who can't be with us today because of schedule obligations. So let's go ahead and run a couple of clips here from some of our CoCoTALK panel members extending their Thanksgiving wishes. So sit back and relax.
Hey guys, this is Bruce Moore, author of Forest of Doom, and we Canadians have already had our Thanksgiving, but that doesn't mean we can't continue to be thankful. I'm very thankful for the CoCo community in particular. And you know, there's something else too. About 3 years ago, I started something which I call a gratitude journal. There's with so much negativity going on in the world, and it seeps into us, and you can end up looking at just all the negative stuff. And so 3 years ago when I started this journal, I started writing in it practically daily, and would you believe, today I filled it. This right here, this hardcover thing here, has a total of 3,827 things for which I have said I am grateful over the last 3 years. And I gotta tell you, if I'm ever feeling blue or getting down about anything really, I could open this up, take a read, and it helps change my perspective from negativity towards thankfulness and gratitude.
Hello, I am David Ladd, and here are a few things I am thankful for on this Thanksgiving Day. I'm thankful for God and His Son, Jesus Christ. I am thankful for my friends and family. I am thankful for the CoCo community. I am thankful for the CoCoTALK Live group and the pleasure it's been to be on the podcast. I'm also thankful for the CoCo Crew podcast and all that they have also done as well. And I'm thankful for the blessing it's been to be in this country where I have the right to be able to express these thankful wishes. And I hope everyone watching has a happy and Thanksgiving Day.
All right, well, there you have it. There's a couple of the panel there giving their Thanksgiving wishes. A couple people out there in the live chat right now. Ron Klein says hello. Stu Kenley says hi, everyone. We have, okay, what is making noise here? Who's got, the noise is killing me. Okay, Tom C says hello. So hello to everybody out there in the live chat. And who else just joined us right now? Paul Thayer has joined us. Hey, Paul, how you doing, guy?
Hey, good. How's it going, everybody?
Not bad. Thanks for joining us. Did you have a good Thanksgiving?
It was great. Thank you.
Yeah? Are you stuffed?
Not anymore.
I love the memes that you see on Thanksgiving Day, too. It's like, I just can't eat one more thing, but I've got room for pie. I can't fit any more food in here, but oh, there's pie. It's such an American holiday where we just gorge. If you think about it, that is the American way, right? So we've got a lot to be thankful for. I think I'm definitely thankful for having discovered the color computer community. I'm thankful for the CoCo, I would have to say. CoCo, for better or for worse, is why I am who I am today. And
that's so we blame.
Yes, someone with a time machine might say, okay, Hitler, color computer, which one? We can go back in time and fix one mistake. And yeah, so that was cool. So everybody else, good Thanksgiving, things you're thankful for, all that kind of good stuff?
I'm thankful that we celebrated our Canadian one in October before the snow hit, because right now there's a fair bit of snow outside. So
excellent. And so on the area of project updates and acquisitions, who's got some stuff to share with us as far as what they've been working on recently?
Well, Bill and I will be talking about it in more detail a bit later, so I won't give too much at this point, but we do have an update on the NitrOS9 ease of use project. So,
yay!
Is that hold on one second here. Is that the ease of use edition there?
You betcha.
Sorry, Grant, go ahead.
I've also been working on the NitrOS9 ease of use project, and also did the CoCoSDC upgrade as well. So I got that all set up, and now working on the CoCo Pi.
Excellent. Well, anybody else? All right, don't everybody speak at once. Okay, I'll show you real quick. I just got this in yesterday, but this is my Richard Lorbieski design. This is the SCART cable to CoCo 3 doohickey. So that came in yesterday. I haven't had a chance to hook it up yet, but I'm definitely looking forward to having my CoCo 3 connected again, because I have not been able to use it since Tandy Assembly, because my S-Video adapter just stopped working on me. So now hopefully I have a way to get it connected to my PC and be able to see it and record it and all that good stuff. So that's been a little bit of a thorn in my side. So I'd also like to throw out that I am thankful for the fact that I've got good internet now.
I think we're all thankful for that.
What a nightmare that has been with trying to stream and with bandwidth and you name it. Anybody else have any project updates, acquisitions they want to talk about this week? All right. We'll assume that's a no. So real quick, let's look at some of our numbers right now. This is impressive now. We've actually gotten not only over 3,000 downloads, we're in the 3,200 download area right now. That's impressive. This is just on the podcast, you know, so we are averaging about 100 downloads per weekly episode right here. We can see it here, 133, 129. So we're kind of getting there. I'm actually really happy about that. And our most recent episode, which was just released yesterday, Black Friday, we've already gotten 41 downloads on the episode 34 with special guest host Grant Leighty. And we've also had somewhere in the neighborhood of about 100 views between the live stream and the replay. So it's kind of cool that people are watching the show, listening to the show. That is much appreciated. And I don't know if anybody has noticed anything right now by watching the show, but you know, we've been working on some internal discussions on to make the show a little better, you know, kind of tweak it, polish it, make it look a little nicer, hopefully run a little smoother. And so this is the first draft in that new Stay on Target version of CoCoTALK.
Stay on target.
So we're going to try to keep the show lean and mean and moving for you. And so, yeah, I'm thankful for that, too. I'm thankful for the community who listens to our show every week. So on that note, why don't we take a quick commercial break, and then we will be right back with our main segment of the show, people.
Greetings, YouTubers. Atari Leaf here, and you're listening to CoCoTALK.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's me, it's Original Gamer Stevie Stroh, and welcome to a brand new segment of the show that we call the Pandering segment. And this is where we ask you to help support our efforts by checking out our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com, where you can grab yourself a coffee mug like this, or maybe like this, or maybe one of the even cool new deluxe travel mugs, possibly even a DVD featuring some gameplay goodness. All of the proceeds that we get from the Retro Swag Shop go right back into the production and hosting costs of the show, as well as compensating the artist Joel Adams, who designs all these cool things for us. So consider supporting our endeavors by picking yourself up a piece of merchandise from 8bit256.com. On top of that, if you'd really like to help out the show on a long-term basis, we've got a brand new Patreon site where you can support us with regular contributions, and you can visit us there at patreon.com/OGStevieStroh. However, we'll keep it real simple. Visit us on the web at CoCoTalk.live, and you can get all the information there. And while you're there, why not send us an email to CoCoTalk@CoCoTalk.live. We'd love to hear some feedback from you, some suggestions for future show ideas and topics, and maybe even submit a segment or bumper yourself. The show wouldn't be anything without you, and we appreciate all of your support. All right, there goes the shameful plug part. And what I was concerned about was the one I was supposed to have come up first was Bruce Moore's new trailer for Forest of Doom and the updated contest. And Bruce couldn't be here, so I'm going to go ahead and pull that up and show that one too. And so anybody want to kind of explain that for a second while I go ahead and grab the video?
Well, basically, because the first contest of the first winner to get the mug kind of got a little bit unfair because there was such wide delivery dates. Basically, some people had already won the game by the time, a week later is when some other people finally got their book in the mail. So he's decided to do a second contest with a long lead time to give people time to get the book and play the game and make it a bit more fair. And he's having another contest now, a second one, to kind of make it fair for everybody to be able to get a chance to win some Forest of Doom swag.
There you go. And here's the commercial.
Many have tried. Few have succeeded. Can you defeat the Forest of Doom?
Send your proof of victory before December 16 to fod@gracenote.ca for your chance to win the Chalice of Bravery.
The Chalice of Bravery. What do you think about that?
Many.
That is pretty cool. And that was mentioned on the host discussion this month on the CoCo Crew podcast too. The many different ways to distribute a game, and what's most important.
Game.
I think the game, right? Good rule of thumb is have the game not suck. And then how you want to package it is kind of up to you. And I guess that's kind of a harsh statement, not suck, but you know what I mean. It's the program that counts, right? And, you know, as long as you like your program and as long as, you know, focus on that, I think that's pretty good. But I did like that discussion, and it's pretty exciting that we live in a time when there are many ways to distribute new software, you know?
Yeah.
I think it's
and there's
great
been
to
such a
live in a time-
variety of releases of games lately with different packaging and different promotions and stuff too, which is nice. Everybody's experimenting.
Yeah. How's the old saying go? You got to throw a bunch of stuff at the wall and see what sticks, right? I'm a big favor of the ROM cartridge too. I'm a big fan of that when possible. And Paul's here, and so Timber. Speaking of new software, Timberman's another one. How's Timberman coming, Paul?
Sorry, I didn't hit the mute button in time there. It's fine. I'm shipping it out, and Simon's working on hosting a site for download to be able to be distributed to the people who purchased it before it's delivered in the mail. So
excellent. And what was the vast majority of people's preference to get it? Did everybody want the package with the printed manual and the SD card and everything?
Yeah, so far, yeah. Mm-hmm. I got a couple people who just wanted the email package, and then one person wanted the free download with no manual or anything. So
okay, so you gave choices, and that's an interesting way to do it too. You know?
Well, this time I gave choices because it's a clone of a game for one, so it was more of a donation base to kind of help us. Keep making some software. So,
Paul, I have a question for you. Are you going to be at CoCoFest this year?
My brother Tim and I are talking about being there. Yeah, he's hoping to have some new card games ready for display there. So,
because I was going to hold off buying it actually until you guys are there, so I can get an autographed copy, of course.
Oh, well, that's awesome. Thank you.
So I was going to do that for Rick Adams' game too. I'm gonna, if you guys are both there, I'll buy both and get them autographed at the same time.
Yeah, we're planning on being there. I'm not sure where I'll be on my next project by that point, but hopefully, maybe it'll be done. Who knows?
I'll guarantee you a sale, so you have some reason to come.
Cool, awesome. Well, and it'd be nice to meet some people who were not there the last time I went, so that'll be really cool.
Excellent. In the live chat, Steve Powell is asking, does anyone know of documentation to add a fan to the CoCo 2 or 3? I'm assuming he's talking about like a heating fan, a cooling fan to help ventilate the system.
Yes.
And anybody have any knowledge to share on that?
Well, Bill, you installed ours. It works. What did you do?
Basically, I just tapped into the power system using just a straight 5-volt fan.
And
Steve, does that answer your question?
Just a straight 5-volt. Say that again.
5-volt fan.
A like straight 5-volt fan.
Pull that directly off the power supply.
No, not directly off the power supply. I actually just tied it into a couple of tie points on the actual motherboard that produced the 5 volts.
Okay. Well, don't most motherboards have these little pins sticking up where you can just plug a fan connection right to it?
The newer one. Yeah.
You're thinking this century.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah, back in the CoCo days, we just took a big house fan and just aimed it right over your head.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I remember reading an article in Rainbow one time saying, "Why is everybody worried about putting a LED on your thing? I've just got my CoCo plugged into a power strip, and I've got a lamp on the power strip, so I know when the thing is on." That's the poor man's power indication right there. So,
but on a CoCo 2 and even a 3, if you want to throw a fan on, be careful about how much juice you pull, because if you are like running with a Y cable, so you got several cartridges coming off that CoCo power supply, you got your joysticks plugged in, you got other devices, you could tax that power supply real easy.
So perhaps that might be a little project, a little externally power sourced cooling system for the CoCo.
Yeah, unfortunately, the CoCo 2 and 3, the power output was just barely enough to drive just internal peripherals that the Tandy had supplied. It's not really friendly for third-party peripherals at all, or add-ons.
Yeah, when I was developing stuff for Tandy, there was definitely a spec on how much power you could pull off the cartridge connector.
That would explain why Disto and others like the 1 meg upgrade had its own separate power supply, a little block brick that you plugged into the wall and then plugged into the 1 meg upgrade.
Yeah, power is finite, I take it. Well, hopefully that helps you out a little. Hopefully that helps you out just a little bit. Yeah, he says I may just go with an external wall wart. Yeah, can't go wrong there. On the bottom of the screen is some subliminal advertising here for the Retro Swag Shop. And the only reason why I want to mention this is that I don't control the prices or the promotions, but they actually happen to be running a promotion right now. The company that makes the t-shirts and the coffee mugs and all that kind of stuff. There is a promo code right now for the holiday weekend. So November 24th through the 27th, if you use a promo code SALE 2017, you can get 20% off t-shirts, coffee mugs, mouse pads, things like that. So that's kind of cool. So when those things happen, I'll be sure to share them. And I've really been enjoying this deluxe travel mug here that says CoCoTALK on it because, all the ladies like this. Everywhere I go, the ladies are like, "Ooh, where'd you get that mug?"
Actually, I have to admit, today I was out shopping this morning after I fed my dad, and I'm wearing my CoCoFest shirt, and I actually got complimented on it by one of the cashiers at Canadian Tire, believe it or not.
Oh.
Didn't have a clue what it was or what it was about, but she said it definitely, the green screen, she said, really struck out. She had trouble concentrating on what I was trying to buy.
What was the t-shirt that David was wearing in his Thanksgiving?
Yeah, I was wondering that too. It looks kind of like the CoCo character, but it's slightly different too.
I was wondering if that was one of Joel Adams' designs or if that was something else.
No, it's something else. That's a David Ladd acquisition
original
there. Yeah, David Ladd original. So,
it would have been nice to see the graphic really well if he had got out that iron,
And shouldn't we be calling him Sir David Ladd?
Sir David Ladd, yes, Richard. Hey, Richard, I don't know if you were here before for the announcement, but your SCART cable came in. I got it yesterday. I have not had a chance to plug it in yet, but I have it. It looks very well made. So thanks for getting that out to me.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the only problem is I ran out of black shrink tubing, so I had to go with the blue on that. So. Okay. If you see the slight color, that was because I ran out of shrink tubing.
Okay. Do you have nuclear green color to kind of like be CoCo themed?
Oh, I got all kinds of colors, but the internal cables, when I hook them all up inside the SCART cable, like the red, blue, green, for the RGB, I have that color coded. It's all color coded, so people can look at the cable and have an idea what goes where.
Okay. Unlike Component, where they made a duplicate red wire, wasn't it? One for audio, one for video, just to confuse normal people.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you use the proper colors in this one, right? So yellow is video, red and white is audio.
Right.
Okay.
And then black is ground and so on and so forth. But like I said, if you opened up the SCART cable itself, you could see that it's all color coded. Most people, when they put solder in the connectors, they don't put any kind of insulation in there at all. But I just like to be neat and tidy and kind of
and over engineer it a little bit too.
Oh yeah.
Yep.
Is there such a thing as over engineering?
Never.
Yeah, over engineering is like saying like 640K ought to be enough for anybody.
That's yeah, okay.
It's not even enough on a CoCo anymore. I want 1 or 2 meg or 8 meg or
1.21 gigawatts.
That's for the fan.
Yeah, right. It's gonna need more than 5 volts on that one there. So separate power supply or bolt of lightning, not included.
Enough power for the fan so that I actually can launch the CoCo right off your desk. Become a drone.
Hey, I want to get one of those propeller hats that Grant's wearing.
That's got its own separate power supply, I take it too, right?
He's got a fancy one. It's even variable speed.
Oh man! So I tell you what, I'm really looking forward to Nick Marionette's take on the ease of use NitrOS9 distribution as well. Is Nick Marionette's with us today?
Well, I can be his alter ego today. Yes. Actually, I had a bit of a play with it the other day. I must say, coming from someone who's so anti-OS9 as me, that it was the first time I've actually ever been able to run more than 1 or 2 applications. I think I ran 6, was able to run them, exit them, and no crashes, no rage quits, nothing. So to me, that's a thumbs up straight off.
And do you think the excessive drinking helped?
Well, okay, I didn't want to mention that, but
all right.
OS9, Anna Foster's.
Yes.
But it's looking good.
Excellent. Okay, so just before we go into another commercial break here, I'm just going to let everybody know who's watching. So we do have a short newbie question of the week, but the newbie question and the tech talk are going to lead into our main segment, our main focus of the show today as well, which is the new project, the NitrOS9 Ease of Use edition that Curtis and Bill are working on, and David Ladd is helping to test, and so is Grant Leighty. And so it's a little community project that's working on which we'll hear more about it, but that's our lead-in, so I'm just going to let you know that. We're going to run a commercial. We're going to hear from some more people what they're thankful for, and we'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Mike Rowan, and you're watching The Original Gamer, Stevie Stroh. And when you're done watching, come over and listen to the CoCo Crew podcast.
What's going on, everybody? The Original Gamer Stevie Stroh here, and I want to talk to you about I'mACoconut.com. If you love the color computer like I love the color computer, then you got to visit I'mACoconut.com, your one-stop shop for all of your Tandy Color Computer links needs. There you'll find links to blogs and podcasts and project sites and emulators and downloads and groups and communities. If you love the color computer, head on over to I'mACoconut.com. That's IMACoconut.com. Tell them the Original Gamer Stevie Stroh sent you. CoCo forever, people.
Alright, so I'm doing my Thanksgiving time at night. Well, that makes me a computer geek, doesn't it? Tell me I'm not the only computer geek out there that thinks that deaf people ought to be illegal. What am I thankful for? I'm thankful that growing up I had Rainbow Magazine and the CoCo community to give me a sense of belonging and purpose, to give me a direction in my life at that time.
All right, can anybody identify that person? And by the way, no, it's not Charles Manson.
I was going to say Alan Moore of comic book fame, but I don't think it was.
Yeah. That's our friend from Facebook. The American pronunciation of his name is Machiel. His name is always written in Hebrew, so you see him on the group a lot.
Oh, okay.
And I don't want to butcher his name, so I'm just going to call him by the American version of Michael. But yeah, he's been in the Facebook group quite a bit, and that was a pretty cool video right there. We got a few more.
It definitely looks like he was off the grid.
Yes, and he has mentioned that he's an off the gridder. So very, very cool. So we are a professional show here, including infographics and theme music and stuff here. So we're gonna break right into now the newbie question of the week. So stand back, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for Newbie Talk with Grant Leighty and the newbie question of the week. Take it away, Grant.
I have a very, very easy question. It's probably going to be more for Curtis, but basically I would like to know, what is poke and peek?
Well, poke is when you poke somebody on Facebook, and no, I'm just kidding. Basically, poke means you're writing to a memory location or I/O address or whatever, and peek means you're reading it back. So basically, it's to access memory in the computer or an I/O address, like a piece of hardware, a peripheral, or something. And that's the basic. Basic is the one that uses the peek, and poke, and Basic 09 does that as well. If you're doing a semi-language, you're doing that kind of stuff all the time, built right into the code.
Okay, and then you're able to make programs just using poke and peek, correct? Because I remember a Rainbow booklet that had like 100 pokes and peeks.
Yeah, and there was third-party books of like 300 pokes and peeks and 500 pokes and peeks, and then ones for the CoCo 3 specifically. Because there's some stuff you can access that Basic doesn't normally access on its own. And I think even like Color Basic originally had it, so if you wanted to read the joystick buttons, you had to peek the memory location that actually was hooked up to the hardware. So sometimes it's practical. And I mean, on some other platforms, because poke and peek is common to Basic on all 8-bit computers and some 16-bit computers. I mean, even to click the speaker on the Apple II, for example, you had to do a peek of a memory location just to toggle it on and off. So.
All right, cool. That answered my question.
So direct memory access, reading and writing. Is that a great summary of that?
Yeah, memory or I/O.
Okay.
That's why I added that part, because sometimes you're diddling with like a card or something.
Also, I was going to say, on the Apple, a lot of times there would be machine language routines that are included in the program, and they'd have a data section with basically poke values, and there'd be a little loop that runs, pokes it into memory, and that can call it. I assume you could do the exact same thing with the CoCo too.
Yeah.
A lot of them were done that way. I put out a mouse driver routine that used the high-res joystick interface, and it basically was a basic program with lots of peeks and pokes.
Yeah, that was published in Rainbow, if I remember correctly, too, and was even CoCo 1 and 2 compatible?
Yeah. And the thing is, I wrote it before the product came out, and everybody was questioning, what's this high-res joystick option?
Yeah, this is pre-CoCo 3, too. I remember that.
Yep.
I was going to say you can use the peaks in Basic and the keyboard rollover chart. And you can create like using the arrow keys without having to use in-key.
Yeah,
the in-key
much faster.
command. It's a lot faster, and it repeats, without any special programming.
It shows you it's still held down so that you can actually hold down the left key to move a player to the left, for example.
Yeah, and peak 135 tells you the last ASCII code that was entered too, so you can use that kind of stuff in Basic. It's really useful.
Very cool stuff. Did you get enough there, Grant?
Yep, I think I understand exactly what it is now.
All right, well, that was short and sweet. All right, well, we are going to move right into the main segment of the show, and rather than this being necessarily a tech talk, this is going to be kind of a project update announcement on the latest Nitrous 9 project. So we're going to have Curtis and Grant and Bill Nobel kind of drive that for us. And then I guess, Nick Marents as well. Nick's been playing with it too. So why don't you guys start off by telling us a little bit of introduction on the latest Nitrous 9 Ease of Use edition.
Okay, so we finally got the first alpha out, I think it was on Wednesday night, if I remember correctly. Bill, David, and I have been kind of fiddling back and forth, and I did some quick, hack documentation just to get people started, kind of assuming that you don't know anything about Nitrous 9. The whole point of the Easy of Use project is we wanted to have basically a stock boot that you would just, and it works with, the most common hardware or the emulators, and you would just mount the disk in the emulator or just put it on your CoCoSDC, type DOS, and just run. And basically, multi-views already set up, programs already pre-installed, directories are where they're supposed to be, so you didn't have to do any of these install scripts and trying to figure out how the directory structure works. Which, if you're from RSDOS, you don't have a directory structure. So basically, the whole point is to make it easy and just basically boot it up and go. And you can get into the details and get into the command line and do some weird stuff if you want to, but you don't have to. You can just use a mouse and click just like a modern GUI, and hopefully make it easier for everybody to use. Now, this is an alpha. We've got basically the boot working, but I haven't had a chance, and neither is Bill or David, who actually is a bit more active on helping make it than originally sounded there. But we're still installing programs. I'm actually making some changes to some programs to make them run a bit better. I'll give a little bit of an update that on a little bit later. But basically, we got it out with a couple of demos in there. I think we had about 11 games, pre-installed and ready to run. The GUI's pre-set up. We set it up basically to run on composite or composite capable, so it'd be easy enough to read off the boot. If we get enough feedback that not anybody's running it on composite, we can change that default too. So basically, at this point, it's feedback on the little mini manual I made just to get it up and running to make sure it's understandable. Something that does not know NitrOS9, which Grant's holding a copy of it of. And if there's any suggestions for changes on how the boot works, I know Nick's had a few suggestions there. And Steve, have you had a chance to try it yet? I know you've been kind of busy.
I have not had a chance to actually try it, but I did look at the manual. I did the RTFM part of that.
Which is stunning in itself.
It wasn't too hard to read. And I know it's in alpha, but I would think at some point in time, I think I mentioned this to you when we were speaking about it, but maybe some little screenshots along the way when the manual goes into full release. So as you're talking about the multi-view, show some pictures and stuff like that. But no, I found it readable, and but I have not had a chance to boot it up and look at it yet. But I believe there is a certain fan of NitrOS9 by the name of Nick Marionettes, who had a few things to say about it too.
Ease of use.
Basically, this is what I want: I want feedback from the alpha testers. Is going to be a fairly narrow group of people, and right now we've got a narrow boot. Like right now, it's 6.309 emulator, either MAME or VCC or a CoCoSDC. We are expanding that. We're actually working on the 6.809 boot version of it now. We'll be adding some more stuff a little bit later, but we're just doing this because that's the most common platforms. And I think Nick, because he's in the midst of moving, doesn't have his real CoCo 3 set up, so I think he did it in VCC. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, I'd love to hear your and Grant's feedback in particular, because you guys either don't like OS9, NitrOS9, or have never used it before, or barely used it, maybe just boot up a game from Tandy. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on both the little mini manual and how it's set up right now.
Well, I think the manual is great. It's only about 6-7 pages, so that's definitely ease of use compared to the one that came with OS9 Level 2 from Tandy. Setting it up.
Ease of use according to Tandy.
So
how many words per page there?
Well, it's 1,000 plus pages. So.
And that was
like War and Peace for the CoCo.
Don't forget about
so setting it up on the SDC was a breeze. I mean, it took me probably all about 5 minutes to download it and copy it and get it running. And then pretty much everything's a GUI. So you just take your keyboard or your mouse, point to what you want to do, and click on it, and the game starts right up, or whatever you're looking to do. So it's very, very easy.
Okay. Did you play around with any of the command line stuff, or did you basically just stick with the GUI?
I just stick with the GUI for right now. That's probably going to give it more.
That's pretty well what I'm expecting most people to use.
Now, does anybody have a GUI they can screen share and show us?
I do.
Okay, well, let Nick do it, because I'd rather have somebody new to it that can show it rather than me.
I'll just share this.
Ron Klein in the live chat is saying he's really impressed with what he's seen so far, too.
Yeah, I was going to mention that I sent it to Ron, and he actually came back with some good feedback on the ease of use of it.
Yeah, plus we're going to discuss Bill. He's been doing some extensions to it for the Nano, too, which I think Ron's helping test, so we'll get into that a little bit later, too.
And here we see the latest, greatest version of VCC as well. Go ahead, Grant.
So are we going to be able to run this on the CoCo Pi?
Actually, Ron has already got it going on the CoCo Pi.
The CoCo Pi runs MAME, so if it run on MAME, it should run on CoCo Pi. Of course, I'm speaking on some generalization assumptions here. Look at this. Welcome to NitrOS9, Color Computer 3 Ease of Use Edition. It even says it right there on the screen.
Yeah.
And yeah, Ron says yes.
So you know
sir.
it's
Ron
true.
Ron Klein answered. Hey, Ron, can you join us on Skype? I'd love to have you on here, sir.
Just want to make one quick comment. Ease of use and alpha version has never been put on a screen before. They're kind of counter, they
counterintuitive.
Yes. It's just, yeah. Usually it's beta.
Well, the alpha for me is more restrictive. This is just a few choice people just specifically do this. This isn't a wide beta.
I know. It's just.
Okay, so right
you're
now
right. Alpha and ease of use is kind of an oxymoron putting them together.
Well,
so.
ease of use is the name of the version of this, though. This is the ease of use edition, correct?
All I'm saying is I've never seen those two before.
Hey, we're trailblazing here.
Pointedly duly noted. Okay, so what are we looking at here, Nick Marionettes?
Well, this is the ease of use edition that's running the multi-view. That's been enhanced already by Curtis, so it's got more of a 3D look to it.
Okay.
If you've ever seen the original multi-view and compared to this, this is way better, a bit more professional looking. Curtis has set up various folders here, and well, let's go straight to the most important one, the games.
I like the way you think, mister.
Now, it does take a little while to load them all up. The ones that have got these more graphical icons are the ones that Curtis has set up, so they're ready to go. Everything else is work in progress still. So there's quite a few other folders which he's yet to go through and set up. As you can see, there's plenty of all the OS9 games are there. But if we open up, which one should we try, Curtis? Anyone in particular?
Totally up to you.
Let's try. Well, let's run Thexter. So you just double click on Thexter, and there it is.
Wow, look how fast that came up too.
Yeah, they came up fine, and unfortunately, this is on VCC. I don't have a joystick, so I can't really get very far. But if I, as you can see, it's playing fine.
Yeah.
I think the exit was Control Clear, was it? Curtis?
Control E or something, or Control C?
I can't remember. On VCC,
Control Q for click? I can't even remember either.
Yeah, on VCC, I don't have all the normal.
Yeah, VCC's got a couple of issues. One thing is it eats most of the alt keys, which a lot of the text editors and stuff do. So that's a problem with VCC.
Now, as you can see, I'm multitasking as well. So there's my Thexter. I can jump back to the GUI, and I can, still do the stuff on the GUI. So there's the multitasking, and there's a shell, an empty shell there.
Yeah, and if you type PROC on there, you'll see a list of all the tasks currently running.
Yeah, PROC. So you still have access to all the non-ease of use stuff. So there are all the windows that are open. You could kill that Thexter application from here, but there was an exit key. Remember, I was playing with it the other day, and there was an exit, but I can't remember it now. If I wanted to kill that task now, Curtis, what's the command there?
Kill and then the ID number. So Thexter's is 4 in this case.
Kill 4. There we go. Closes Thexter. Back to the GUI, and I can run something else. So I don't know. Here's a simple little basic program. No, it's all running, and you can play Battleship, whatever, and you can of course multitask still. You still have the GUI there, and to exit out of this, I just hit the break key. So there, straight off, I've run 2 programs, and I'm still in control.
And you're not raging.
Yeah. And then we also have this is set up for the lower res GUI by default in case you have a composite monitor.
Yeah.
But you can go in view and change it to the 80 column, and if you have a RGB monitor or a decent quality VGA or whatever, you can get way more on the screen. There's some built-in help on the games that have icons. So if you single click one of the game icons and then click the question mark in the upper right corner, it'll give you a little bit of description of the game.
There you go. Look at that on-screen help.
That's right.
I don't know if I have the exit key on there.
And you have options for Thexter too. make Thexter.
Yeah, that's
even
one
more.
thing I need feedback on, because there's a few games that have options, but if I set up the GUI so that you can punch in an option, like if you want to pick one, you have to kind of know that stuff ahead of time. That makes it more complicated, so I'm not sure which way to go there. If I should just leave it simple and just do the defaults, or if I should actually specify something. Like in Shanghai's case, I actually, as an experiment, I set it up so that you can use the option, because Shanghai, if you just hit return for options, it just defaults to the normal. But some other programs don't, so I'm not sure what to do with that. I'll take some feedback from you guys on that.
You have scripts or batch shell things you can run, can't you? Couldn't you like have a question like, do you want this or want that before it launches?
Yeah, I have to change G shell because G shell doesn't natively run scripts. The regular shell does that, so I'd have to fork a shell and then fork the batch and
fork an A.
Not impossible. I could do that. I do want to make it a bit easier and a bit more memory friendly than that, than having to run background shells just to process options. So,
but I tell you what. So number one, this is running on an emulator. Number two, it's being screen shared through Skype from Australia, and even under those conditions, it's very fast. There's low latency. Now, this is really impressive. I think the most impressive part of this, and I'm grinning from ear to ear, is having this being told to us by Nick Marents. Telling us.
Irony, thy name is Nick.
Oh, man. Yeah.
So it is true, hell does freeze over, right?
Yes, it has frozen.
And we did a few other things too, like to make it easy of use. Like one thing that always bugged me about some of the old games is that everybody made a custom font for whatever game they wrote back in the late 80s, early 90s. But they always reused the same font numbers, so that if you loaded one game, it would change the font. If you ran another game, it was assuming you had a standard system font there. All of a sudden, everything's wrong. So I've actually went and made a kind of stock list, changed the font numbers so we have a nice fixed list that everybody can use, and we can just add to it. I've already added a couple more since this was released for Rogue, because Rogue has a special graphics font that came with the game from Epix, and then somebody else did a third-party edition of their own, which actually I think honestly looks a little bit better. So I'm just in the midst of patching Rogue to be able to select a font on startup, so you can pick which of the two graphic fonts you want. If you run it on a hard text screen, it just runs like normal, like the original game did.
Okay. That's cool.
Sounds like ease of use.
So one question I have, Curtis, is there going to be any limitations between this one and the real version?
What do you mean by limitations?
Is there anything you can't do on this ease of use edition that you could do on the regular NitrOS9?
Not really. We're just trying to make it so everything's pre-set up. I do have to patch a couple of programs. Rogue is one I've already started patching. G-Shell needs some help on handling batch files. The bigger thing I've got to add to G-Shell is that the stock one doesn't have a clue how to launch something on a VDG screen, which means all the OS9 Level 1, CoCo 1 and 2 games don't launch from G-Shell. And a lot of the CoCo 3 games who wanted direct screen access, because back then that's the only legal way you could do it, like Cronus Rift and Rescue and Fractalus and Microscopic Mission, all the Sierra games, none of those properly load either. So I've got to patch G-Shell to be able to do that properly. That'll be the big patch I'll be doing, and that'll be released to the repository too, because that should be fixed whether you're running our ease of use version or just in general. So that'll be one big change.
Well, I gotta say the Skype screen sharing on this is pretty fluid right now.
I think it's your new connection and stuff too that helps.
Yeah, it is. My goodness, man, this looks really good. I have to say, very, very happy with all this right now. Yeah, that's looking really good. Now, let me ask you another dumb question. Right now, the hell was that? Okay. The icons are black and white. If you switch the view to, 80 column, 16 color, do the icons go color too?
No, they're all defaulted to grayscale because that was just a limitation for people back then, especially if you only had 128K. You couldn't really fit a GUI on top of 128K with a 16 color screen.
Okay.
So I decided we designed it for 4 color. Now you can change those 4. Like if you don't want to do strict grayscale, I know Bill had an alternative which had some blues. I had one that had some reds and yellows. Basically, as long as you pick colors 0 through 3, with 0 being your darkest color and 3 being your brightest color, you can mix and match whatever the heck you want.
I'm talking about the icons themselves, not the color palette of the GUI, but the actual icon colors. Like when you launch the game, the icon seems to be monochrome too.
Well, that's because you're using the standard 4 default colors for a 4-color screen.
Okay, so the icons are based on the same color palette then?
Yes. Yeah.
I see. Okay, they're not separate. Okay, never mind.
80 by 25 in OS9 is 4-color.
I redact the question.
So you can change the system colors like from gray to something else.
That just makes sense now, and it probably makes sense to keep it this way. It doesn't look terrible. It's kind of Mac-like, you know.
Yep, classic Mac.
And unfortunately,
I think defaulted to a black and white or grayscale original.
It's got twice the number of colors.
Yeah, we got 4, damn it.
Yeah, they only had 2.
Very
the
cool.
Amiga, the Amiga's OS, it originally just booted up to 4 colors as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was just a way of just conserving memory. Why? Yeah.
Yeah, and well, it's twice as fast too, because I mean you're dealing with half the size. So. Now, one thing I should mention here, and this was one of the suggestions we did get back from feedback, and it was actually from Nick Marionettes himself. Originally, I had the standard system font that OS9 comes with for doing the menus and stuff, and that was a full height font. So the tops of the letters, like in F and files and stuff, would go right up into the white, like part of the 3D look. And it kind of looks sloppy. Nick pointed that out, and there was somebody else had done a font. I think it might have actually been the Kevin Darling project for the OS9 Level 2 upgrade, because they did a 3D look on theirs as well. And they had made a font that was 1 pixel shorter, so it would fit properly within the menu bars.
Okay.
So that was one suggestion Nick did, and I actually enabled that now as the default. And I think he's right; it looks a lot better.
Okay. Getting back to Grant's question, this is not a restricted version or limited version of the operating system. So anything you can do in OS9, you can do here. So it's not feature restricted, but is it safe to say there are certain minimum requirements? I believe you mentioned early on this is only going to run on 512K, right?
Yeah. The level 2 upgrade from Kevin Darling, that was one thing they were fighting with Tandy Micro around too, because they wanted to make the level 2 version 3 upgrade require 512K, because 128K is really limiting when the OS literally takes half of that by itself. You start adding graphic screens and actual programs, and you're pretty well out. Mm-hmm. So, and to make this ease of use, I mean, if you want to run at 128K, it's not impossible, but you have to do a bunch of hoops and do special things to get it to work. And it's kind of like, well, that's not ease of use. That's like saying I want to run, Windows 10 on what's the absolute lowest processor, lowest graphic card possible to run it on, and you're not going to get a good experience out of it. So that's restricted to 512K. Now the current alpha, we've only got the 6.309 version out. The 6.809 version should be coming out within a week, which basically we have to replace some modules with 6.809 versions, and then we're going to make some more additional hardware enabled versions, because like I said, right now, just to keep things simple, we went for emulators and we went for CoCoSDC. That should cover just about everybody. But we will be adding stuff for DriveWire. Bill's already done a kind of an alpha version for the Nano, which he'll get into in shortly as well. Yeah. And the Pi, I guess, too. Ron can probably pipe in on that.
Excellent. Well, I think it looks really cool, and I forgot what episode it was. It was somewhere around episode 18 when I did my first look at NitrOS9, and at that time it was an image that Bill kind of threw at me, and I was impressed with the operating system because it was kind of my first hands-on experience with it. So it actually is an impressive operating system, and it is absolutely impressive that this 8-bit processor is able to multitask, a concept I didn't grasp even during the days of DOS. So on a real PC through most of the 90s, I did not grasp multitasking. I mean, it's something we take for granted now, but the fact that CoCo was doing this with as low as 64K with level 1, absolutely impressive,
Yeah, no, it was quite the engineering feat. The OS itself actually came out in 1980, along with Basic 09, because it was kind of a co-thing between Microware and Motorola when they were actually designing 609 chip. They kind of fed off of each other doing Basic 09. And then Microware kind of said, hey, we kind of should set up an OS around this Basic 09 thing. Because actually Basic 09 was done first. Wow. And they'd already done a real-time operating system for the 6800 earlier than this one, or earlier than OS9, but it was kind of the rough basis of it. And that it was based on Unix, except a lot more memory-friendly.
Okay. Very cool. So if you had to summarize this in maybe 3 words, Nick, what would that be?
Ease of use.
I thought he was going to say not there yet.
That's only because it's alpha.
It can only get better from here.
Right. Well, when you're ready to talk about the, right before we go into the nano version of this, I'll run another commercial. How are we doing on this right now? Have we beat this one to death? Have we seen enough of it?
Question.
Go ahead there.
Curtis, when do you plan on releasing this to beta and open it up to more people?
I think I might do one more alpha, because basically I'm just adding more programs, finding out what stuff I need to fix, and then I have to get some of the fixes done. I wanted to make sure we had a couple complete newbie people, including yourself, to try it and go through documentation. Once I get the documentation, easier to understand, and get enough default apps built in, clean up the directory structure. That was one suggestion Nick had, because right now we have a bunch of development stuff kind of hanging around, which for ease of use, that's just confusing for users. So I'm going to kind of make a source directory or something and move all the C and ASM and stuff in there. So once that part's done and we've kind of cleaned it up a little bit like that, then we'll start doing betas, and you'll have people with, various systems and stuff, and let us know if anybody's hitting any problems with it.
And keep away from David Ladd from breaking it.
That's helped.
David's been influential in helping you develop it and test it, though, too. But yeah, we can't. Even though he's not here, he is not above being the whipping post of the show. So, and speaking, welcome to the show, Simon Jonassen. How are you, Simon?
Good. Hey, you got your CoCo 3 yet?
Nice to have you here on our new Skype account. So yeah, we're trying to streamline the show. We've got a new Skype dial-in account. I'm glad to see that we're all getting on board with this, and just to make the live operation of the show run a little bit smoother. So Grant will be our primary Skype engineer, bringing people into the call and things like that, accepting the call requests. And we're glad you're here, Simon. It's great to have you, as always.
Thank you. Long time no see.
Yes, good to see you. All right, we're going to run a quick commercial, and then we'll come right back, and we're going to hear about the DEC Nano version of ease of use.
Hey, have you got your CoCo 3 yet? Hi, this is Rick Adams, author of Temple of Ram and Shanghai, and you've tuned into CoCoTALK, the nation's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer.
What's going on, everybody? Original Gamer Stevie Stroh here, and if you're a fan of vintage computing and retro gaming, then you're going to love our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. There you will find custom designs by Instagram artist Joel M. Adams. You can get I'm a Coconut, CoCoTALK, and other cool video game images on a t-shirt, coffee mug, or mouse pad. So if you love retro, then head on over to the retro swag shop at 8bit256.com today. Tell them the Original Gamer Stevie Stroh sent you.
Hi, it's Ron from Ron's Garage, wishing you a happy Thanksgiving.
That was Ron from Ron's Garage there. Wishing us all a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope we all have. And I know I've got plenty to be thankful for. So, Bill Nobel, eh?
Yo.
How's it going, eh?
Pretty good.
All right. So you want to give us a quick reminder on what the CoCo on a chip is, maybe the latest version of it, and then let that lead into the ease of use version of NitrOS9 on that platform?
Yep. Okay, so I don't know how many people are familiar, but Roger Taylor has actually created this project called CoCo on a Chip, which actually uses a DE0 Nano FPGA development board, and he's actually designed the whole CoCo 3 on that system, and it actually runs pretty well with a bunch of extra enhancements on top of that. So basically what I've done is I've taken the ease of use base image and redid the boot files for it, and it is now fully running on the actual Nano as well.
And that gives you stuff like 80 by 60 text screens and stuff? Yeah.
I was just going to say, it gives you a few extras on top of that, because on the Nano, you got full 80 by 60 text. Plus, I'm also actually creating the sound drivers for it that use the AY38910 sound chip that's built into it. As well as last night, Roger's actually got inspired by the release of this image, that he's actually added an extra command to the SD controller that allows direct access to the SD card using full FAT32. So I'm going to be actually making up some utilities to do directory structures that you can take directly from the SD card to find out what images you have on your SD card.
Wow.
That's cool.
Yeah, because I'll actually be testing that after the show here, because he sent me that at 6 o'clock this morning.
Wow. That's breaking the fourth wall right there. It's like I'm breaking past this image into the platform that provides the images to see what images are available to me.
It's like Inception or something.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
My mind is blown right now.
Yeah, because Roger tried to do it in his version of RS-DOS, but it was just too much of a thing to add into the actual ROM image to actually make it fit directly to identical to a CoCo. So
that's cool.
Basically, we had to open it up to Nitrous 9 in order to do any of these extra features.
Okay. How much time does it take to take what Curtis has done for the real CoCo and then kind of move it over to the Nano?
Actually, it just required replacing the boot file. That's it.
Yep. The whole nice thing about Nitrous 9 and other real operating systems is that it's built on a driver model like Windows. So if you swap your video card in Windows, you don't have to redo all of Windows. You just replace the video card driver, and it's exactly the same in Nitrous 9. So I'm assuming you replaced it with the graph drive that handles the higher text, etc.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the only two things I had to do was replace the boot file and actually replace graph drive, and that was it. Now, one thing I did do though was I added in Roger's version of DriveWire called CoCoNet, so I can actually copy files directly from my PC.
Yeah. And we will be making a DriveWire enabled version of the actual ease of use project too. It's just we're keeping it simple for now until everything's kind of squared away, and then we'll start doing the alternate builds.
Excellent.
Now you can run faster too, right? Like the Nano can overclock.
Yeah,
what is it, 7 megahertz or something?
This is running at 7 megahertz. Yeah.
That's impressive. I know, Roger, I'm not completely up to date on it, but apparently some of the hardware is changing now. So from a DE0 to a DE10 on the hardware.
Yes. He is actually redoing the actual FPGA software, I guess you could say, to actually use the DE10 FPGA instead, which will add extra functionality like HDMI, more networking options, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Because he's got a lot more room on the FPGA chip on the DE10 versus the DE0.
Neat. Yeah, I might be interested in getting one at that point. Once it goes HDMI and it's got a few more modern conveniences, I just have a hard time buying anything now that only outputs VGA, because to me VGA is already a dead technology, and I don't have anything to record from it. And I need things I can capture and record from.
Yeah. Well, he does.
Yeah, my latest TV doesn't even have VGA.
Yeah, he actually does have the HDMI running already.
Ah, see? There we go. 21st century. It's almost here.
Just so we can run a 1980s operating system on
it. Yeah.
Ease of use.
Yes. So you got it running, and it took next to no work. Change the boot file, change the driver, and it runs. So you mentioned, Curtis, too, that you were patching a few things that maybe weren't quite what they needed to be in the original Nitrous 9 repository.
Yeah, I'll be submitting it back to the repository. I mean, I'm still kind of going through and figuring out what things. Like one I'm patching right now is Rogue, because the original version of Rogue was hard-coded to check, are you running on a 640 by 192 two-color screen only? If you're doing that, then I'll enable the graphics font. If you ran it on a 640 by 192 4-color, it would just run plain straight text, which is kind of dumb. So I've patched that. I've also patched it so that if it's not a full screen version, but you're running in graphics mode, it'll enable the graphics too. So I did one screenshot in Discord that actually showed Zone Runner running beside Rogue, and Rogue actually has the graphics font. And the standard stock Rogue would not do that. It would run in just text modes, like your player would be a number 8. And as pairs, like I said, as stairs would be an equal sign. So that's already been patched, and I've got a couple other patches to do too. G Shell itself is the one that needs the most patches, because I have to get it so it enables you to run and launch VDG-based programs first, because that's one big thing that's missing out of the easy for use.
Okay.
Any of the Sierra games, all the other ones, you have to fork a shell into one of the green screen old CoCo 1 and 2 windows, then change your directories to the proper spots, and then run the game from there, which it kind of is anti-ease of use. So the big thing is I have to get G Shell, which is the GUI program itself within Multiview, to actually do that all on its own. And I'll be resubmitting that back to the repository once it's all done.
Okay, so I want to make sure I understood that last thing you just said here. It sounds to me like you are actually doing a lot of hard work to make this easy for people to use.
Yeah.
So
it's just like the guys from the Mac had to write the Mac toolbox in order to make the Mac GUI itself work, make it easy for programmers to use. So same thing.
So everybody, when you see Curtis at CoCo Fest, buy him a beer. He's been working hard. Curtis and Bill. Bill, you coming to CoCo Fest?
Still unsure yet.
Okay, you can get a ride of Curtis. I vouch for him. So.
I don't know if he will now, though, because he's ridden with me before, so he's seen me drive. That may not be the encouragement.
Very cool. All right, so we beat the topic to death. Anything else we want to add to that?
Not that I can think of. Like I said, I've already done some modifications since. I've installed 2 new games, Rogue and Zone Runner. Rogue's getting a little bit of patches. Oh, one other thing I should mention on Rogue, in case anybody doesn't know about it. The Rogue that Tandy sold from Epix actually has the entire Epix debugger for playing the game and spontaneously creating monsters and changing everything in the game on the fly is built in, but they disabled it. And somebody figured out how to patch it to enable it again. There's a 2 command key sequence, which I'll be putting to help once I release the next alpha. But basically, it's actually enabled in this one by default so that you guys can fiddle with it if you want to see what the Epix guys used to debug the game while they're writing it.
Interesting. Yes.
In this case, but yeah.
Yeah. Very cool.
I want to do that for Doom, by the way.
Yeah, Ron, you ready to come up next on Ron's Garage?
Yeah, let's give it a try. My internet's not real good today. I don't know why, but we'll see what happens.
All right, I'm going to run a commercial, and then we'll be right back with Ron's Garage. Stay tuned, everybody.
Hello, this is David Ladd, and you're watching Original Gamer Stevie Stroh.
Radio Shack's store-wide manager's red tag sale is on now. We've slashed prices 20%, 30%, 40%, 50%. Save on famous Radio Shack hi-fi, car stereo, radios, toys, TV games, calculators, walkie-talkies, and CB radios. Look for the big red tag. Save like never before on these and literally hundreds of red tag specials. Hurry into Radio Shack today.
Thankful for my mule here, and Simon Jonassen for all his contributions to the community. Thanks.
You recognize that person there with the mule?
Nope. Name escapes me at the moment.
That's William Schaub. Is his last name? The one who started doing some assembly stuff recently.
Oh yes, right. Yeah.
Okay. Yep.
And in the exact order of importance, he was thankful for his mule and Simon Jonassen. So Simon knows where he rates. All right, so we're going to do the professional introduction here with Ron's Garage. Hold on just a second here. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for Ron's Garage with a peek into the past, featuring the retro computing collection of Ron Delvaux. Take it away, Ron.
All right, I'd like to dedicate this to Steve Bjork. It's basically
okay.
MC10.
Oh, you.
And we might be losing Ron's bandwidth there.
Yeah, that's the problem with MC10s. They're just too slow.
Ron, if you can hear us, we lost you. We're stuck in a CPU wait state here. He's back. Hey, Ron, we lost you for a second. Okay. So
it's touchy.
That's what she said. Okay, there we go. So this has now become an MC10 unboxing. Ooh, still in the plastic. Look at that.
Nice. You can appreciate that 80s smell.
No, that's just Ron.
Yeah, we are not hearing you at all right now, Ron.
This is what
I think Ron needs the same internet upgrade you got.
Yes,
Steve.
yes.
when I got mine.
Ron inherited my internet bug. A little bit, yeah. Okay, there it is. MC10 sealed in plastic. Look at that. That is gorgeous.
Man.
It's gorgeous. The anticipation is killing me.
It should be left in the plastic.
and encased in concrete? Like a big block?
I don't know, Steve. Don't they make good door stops?
That's what I'm saying. You keep it in the plastic, it doesn't get dirty, and it holds the door better.
You can also use it as a paperweight on your desk, because of those wicked windstorms that always pop up in your office.
Actually, I think the Timex Sinclair makes a better doorstop because of the wedge shape, but that'd make a good paperweight.
Yeah, the big innovation on the MC10 was bringing back the keyboard overlay for the keys to do something different than what they were intended to do. Like the old CoCo 1 chiclet keyboards.
Yeah, or the Commodore PET, which I think had the same scheme with your graphic characters and stuff.
Right.
This is 8 volts, and this is what you don't get when you buy one on the internet, because they usually don't come with one of these, probably. People forget. And then,
what's the significance of the 8 volts on that? Is that what the normal input was for the computer?
Yep, 8 volts, 1.5 amps.
Oh.
And this is the most ugly thing I've ever seen.
Yeah,
I hate
the old RF switch box. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
Made by the thousands.
Yep, something you hooked up on the back. And then I've got one of these.
Ah, the original Tandy 16K RAM module upgrade for the MC10. Very nice.
Yeah.
Which ironically, Radio
Brand
Shack
new.
themselves, I think, only sold one program that used it.
So that would bring it from what was the MC10 come
4K.
stock with? 4K. So this brought it up to 20K.
Yeah.
And if I recall from a tech segment on the CoCo Crew podcast, that RAM was not addressable for video memory, so you couldn't get any more advanced graphics modes.
That's correct. Your 4K that you originally had was all you could use for video RAMs. You couldn't, even though the VDG supported high-res modes like PMode 3 and 4, you could not use them.
You had to have a screwdriver because you can't plug it in right away. You have to remove the panel.
Yeah, that's what she said.
That keyboard looks terrible.
Yeah, it's, the only thing...
No friends.
It's better than the Sinclair ZX8081 RAM tone, as I used to call it, which is that flat plastic Atari 400 style.
Kind of the membrane, yeah. So I guess the one good thing is that the MC10 made the silver CoCo chiclet keyboard seem better.
There you go.
By comparison.
And if you do need software for an MC10, just go to Jim Gary. He's written hundreds of programs.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
No, I can remember having to write code on an CoCo 1 keyboard, but trying to henpick on that small little keyboard for an MC10, it's just like everything was going the wrong direction with Tandy when they came out with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be like trying to type on the regular chiclet keyboard with oven mitts on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's impressive how nice and clean that is, all still in the plastic there, Ron.
Well, it was...
How much did it
really
sell for?
it smelled...
How much was it?
Just like that.
Oh, no, we had two people talking at once.
How
Thank
much
you.
was it back in the day?
Show.
I think it was $100, Nick.
Right.
$99.
It was originally a $149 when it was first released, and then they dropped it to $119. Then it went to $99, went to $79, and then the final price was $39, and they still couldn't get rid of them.
Wow.
In fact, they ran a promotion, a very short-lived one. If you bought a Xenix system, they would give you a free MC10 for the kids to play with, and a lot of people didn't even want it.
Wow.
I think that's because Steve Bjork bought up the entire supply. So,
well, what happened? And I wish I could find the memo, but I was in San Antonio at the time. I was at a repair center, and a memo came out to all the computer stores. A memo for they were supposed to get all their MC10 stock, what they had, including the module, the 16K module, and they had to ship them to Harlingen, Texas, all of them. And then they filled out what they call an interstore stock transfer, ICST, and ship them all there. It was the computer store on, I believe it was on Sunset Road on Highway 77. And that was the last we heard of them. But I don't know if that was company-wide or it was just our region, but it was kind of strange. I thought they were trying to pull some kind of Atari type thing where they were trying to just get rid of them and bury them in the desert somewhere.
I was just going to ask if it was a big landfill in that area or something.
Well, our biggest guess, our guess was maybe somebody in Mexico wanted them and they just shipped them there so they can pick them up or something. But that was the last we saw of the MC10, at least in the Tandy stores in our area.
I do have a question. Is Simon's still on the call? I don't know if he is at the moment. But does anybody know, was MC10 ever sold in Europe and in the UK?
It was sold in Australia.
Simon's there.
What was that, Nick?
In Australia, they sold them.
Oh, so there was a PAL version of the MC10?
Yeah, I've got one.
Oh, okay.
There's also the French clone of this that's called the Alice, which is red, right?
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, Ron, you put up a few pictures of the different variations of the MC10 in your on one of your Facebook groups, right?
Say it again.
Didn't you put up a couple of variation photos of the different MC10 models in one of your Facebook groups?
Yeah, and some of them had different keyboard layouts.
Yeah.
It was pretty interesting to look at.
Yeah,
I got it off the internet.
So, yeah, I think we talked about this a week or so ago when we said, if you're going to collect things, what are some of the unicorns or what's something you might want to have in your collection? And, this is a relative of the CoCo. It's made by Radio Shack. It's got a similar chip. It's, it's one of those relatives that maybe you don't see all the time, but you know.
Well, it's one of those relatives. It's just hate.
It's like the fruitcake you get at Christmas,
and you forward it to the next family member for the next Christmas.
There you go.
Actually, there is another reason why I hate this machine. It killed the Deluxe Color Computer. One of the problems that they had in bringing out the Deluxe Color Computer was the fact that they were running out of 6847s. What did they use in the this guy?
6847.
And basically that was part of the problem. There was a 6847 shortage as far as Tandy was concerned, and they could, that's why they cut the Deluxe Color Computer, because they had this other project that was cheaper that would sell a lot.
I saw how that worked out, right?
This would have been a great computer if it was released back in 1980, 1981, to compete with the Sinclair. And if they had sold it, it started out at $125, something like that, they would have, they couldn't have kept it on the shelf, but it was 2 years too late, when it was released in 83, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't Darren Atkinson make some enhancement or add-on to it that really made it more powerful?
It's called an MC server, which is like DriveWire for the MC10. And if you have the memory expender board, which Ed Snyder is producing, which it lets you communicate with that MC server, and so that gives you like DriveWire like capability.
Did it also add joysticks and stuff too? I can't remember.
Yeah, that was his second generation one. The first one was just the MCX 128, and so it added more RAM, 128K RAM, and the MC server. I don't remember all the details, but that first one did not add sound or joystick port. He created a second generation of that board that had some other add-ons to it. Now that all of that is emulated in CoCoPi as well. So you can run the MC server on your CoCoPi just like you can run a DriveWire server. You can also run an MC10 emulator on the CoCoPi. And all of Jim Gary's software libraries up to now, he just released 45 new ones this week, which were all on the CoCo Crew podcast. But Ron Klein has been updating CoCoPi with the Jim Gary MC10 software library, so you can experience the MC10 on a better keyboard. And I like the fact that just like somebody could look in at us and say, why are we so passionate about the CoCo compared to other 8-bit machines and compared to modern machines? We can look at the MC10 and say, why would anybody want to use that piece of crap? But I respect the fact that Jim Gary is one of the people who's just so dedicated to that machine and just cranks out so much software. The software he does and the time and energy he spends on it are commendable and admirable,
Yeah. And there's been a couple of pretty good MC10 machine language games with the 16K expansion module. There's a pretty good Pac-Man. Space Assault's been ported over. It's pretty well identical to the CoCo version. So there's a couple of good things, and none of this stuff was out. Like I said earlier, there's only one 20K required program that Tandy released, and that was the Lost Valley Pinball.
Okay.
And everything else was a tiny little 4K stuff, and most of it was in BASIC, even the stuff Tandy sold. So they didn't really show the machine off even to its limited capability properly because it was all BASIC stuff instead of any machine language.
Yeah, and the other problem with it is on the cassette is it didn't have a relay switch. So you had to manually turn on and off the cassette when you loaded programs.
Ease of use.
Yeah. Make it cheap.
A lot of other machines there, I had the no relay thing too, so it just kind of puts it in the class with them, I guess. I mean, there's plenty of reasons with the MC10. It's just like it's designed by a drunk, someone who who had no good experience in digital design based on the way they did some things. I don't know, but while we're out there, I'm going to plug my Xmas Rush port, though. If you like Xmas Rush, you'll love it on the MC10.
As I roll my eyes. No, I just kidding.
And it runs in 4K?
I can't remember. I think it does, but I'm not 100% sure. The biggest downside of MC10 or the Xmas Rush on the MC10 is that stupidly perhaps use the arrow keys. Which are positioned, kind of like on the CoCo 2, where they're 2 in one place and 2 in another, or whatever, and they're just kind of hard to use on that keyboard. So it's kind of extra hard to play. So if you're not challenged enough getting the fourth,
actually, it would be really good if it was like a giant gamepad. You could use your thumb on both sides for the arrows.
Yeah. If I really cared, I probably would go back and.
I like the if I really cared.
I really cared.
Well, hey, those MC10 people should be happy there's a Christmas.
I just want to see Steve Bjork, pour popcorn over and run it on that keyboard.
Like that's going to happen.
How about the audio analyzer? That'd be a good one.
Well, one of the things that some of the salespeople did to pass the time in the computer store, they were forced to put this MC10 up on display, and I mean they were kicking and screaming to make them put it up. And so they ran. There was a 6-1-in-game cartridge that came out, or a cassette cartridge, and they would play this horse racing game. And they would actually put little bets on it, to see what horse would win. I mean, just to pass the time.
Like real bets, real money.
Well, they were betting pennies and stuff like that. But
okay.
Still, and they were just cheering on the horse, and that was the other thing is these games were written in BASIC. There was no machine language.
Just the Lost Valley Pinball. That was the only one.
Yeah.
Was there an editor assembler for the MC10?
No.
Not released, but they had some stuff internally.
Okay. That might explain the lack of assembly language stuff if there was no commercial assembler available.
It was the third-party stuff in the 90s and 2000s when they finally started getting some machine language games like the aforementioned Space Assault port, the Pac-Man game, which is actually quite good.
Is that a clone of what, the PackTac, the computerware one? Or
No, that one was an original one. It was, P-Mode 1 and, the Ghost Turn Blue and everything else. It's a bit low res because of the 4K restriction on video RAM, but it actually plays pretty good. There's a YouTube video of it somewhere if you wanted to hunt it down.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that with us, Ron. A great segment as always, and it's a pristine MC10. So for those of you who like your MC10s, Ron's got a clean one for you.
Yeah.
And Steve Bjork has hoarded all the rest, so you can buy them off of him.
Well, I've got a lot of doors in this house.
All right. Well,
the cheap plastic case helps muffle the door slams a little bit, so it's nice sound dampener too.
I want to say,
every so often I have to replace one because the dog gets it and starts chewing it up.
Luckily, you got lots of spares.
Okay. All right. We're going to run a commercial break, and we're going to come back with there it is. There's the video. Who's sharing that right now?
That's me.
Okay. Pac-Man style. Yeah, this looks like... So this was an original one. Go ahead and let that play.
I'm trying to...
Yeah, there we go. Okay. It looks like one of the many ones that were available for the CoCo, but that was actually original, huh?
Yep.
Okay.
It has sound, too, which is not coming through right now, but...
Yeah. Okay. Very good. Very good. All right, so we're gonna come back with some news in just a minute, and I know one of the things we wanted to show off, speaking of sharing a YouTube video, but our friend from across the pond, Steve Bamford, aka Bosco, is working on a very cool Japanese and styled kind of Mario platformer type game, which we're going to show off a clip from that. Will you have that ready to share with us, Grant? Are you going to do that one for us?
Yep.
All right, so we're going to run a commercial, and we'll be right back, people.
Hi, this is John Linville. And Neil Blanchard. We are the CoCo crew. I hope you're enjoying watching Stevie Stroh play video games, especially the CoCo games. And when you're done with that, check out our podcast at CoCoCrew.org.
At home, at the beach, in your car, at the shop, at the office, anywhere you enjoy fine audio programming. It's North America's premier source for color computer news, the CoCo Crew Podcast.
This is John Linville.
And Neil Blanchard.
And we are the CoCo Crew. I hope it's going to be a great show.
Join John and Neil each month as they bring the latest news about the color computer, Dragon, MC10, and others. It's the CoCo Crew Podcast. Visit www.cococrew.org and listen today.
You're listening to the CoCo Crew Podcast.
You guys are making me miss the old theme song.
There we have it. The greatest podcast in the history of human communication right there. The CoCo Crew Podcast. And what we have up here on the screen, does anybody know how to pronounce this game? Because I'm not sure that I will. What is it called?
Yeah.
Kuroku Nashina or something like that?
Where's Rick Adams when you need him?
I pronounce it Cersei's Island.
Okay, Cersei's Island. There you go. The American version of this. So go ahead and throw the video clip up there for us, Grant. Let's take a look at this. And share sound, too. There you go. Yeah, it's looking like the mechanics here are the stars are safe to pick up. Some of the other creatures are not. And then there are some pickup items along the way.
Treasure chests.
And treasure chests. The object is to survive all the non-touchable bad guys and get to the end of the level. Very platformy looking, like a Mario-style side-scroller. Although it seems like you're not constantly scrolling. You're kind of on this little island, and you kind of have to deal with each little zone or island one at a time.
Yeah. And I know he mentioned at some point that these sound routines are not the finalized ones. He was going to try to get them a bit more fancy.
But I like the look of it. I like the low res where you can see the pronounced pixels. It very much looks like kind of like a Game Boy style game here.
Game Boy 1.
Yeah.
It's also
I think it's low enough res you could make an MC10 port.
Is there enough RAM though?
20K maybe. Or the 128K for sure.
But what I love about this is that, there's some really cool titles being made for the Dragon right now like this. Like the Tiburon game and like Karen's Dungeons and Stuart Orchard's working on some stuff. So there's a handful of people making some original or some ports and stuff. And it just kind of reminds you, what can you do with basically a CoCo 2? And you can, I grew up on the CoCo 2. I didn't grow up on the CoCo 3, and I have nothing but fond memories of lots of quality games on a CoCo 2. And this is definitely looks like it's in that vein,
Yeah. And it's really cool that the Dragon people kind of had a whole different set of innovative games. I mean, even if you go back to the mid to late 80s and stuff, there was some games that we didn't even see that genre really in North America for the CoCo. So they had quite a few original things. And the fact that people have started porting back and forth between the two is kind of nice. We can expand both of our game libraries.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Plus also, I guess in England, they don't, just like here in Australia, anything that uses P Mode 4, we don't get the artifacted colors. So a lot of these English Dragon programs use the P Mode 3, so actually seeing the full color graphics used quite well in a lot of these English programs. And
the few P Mode 4 games they did do were meant to be black and white, like Dungeons of Dagrath was on the CoCo side, where they're meant to be 256 by 192, two colors. Quite a few of those, Jet Set Willy and a few others. And actually, if you run them on a monochrome, they actually look pretty good. Almost like mini original Macintosh games.
Right, so when you look at a CoCo game ported to the Dragon, like I saw some pictures of things like Cashman and things like that, they basically changed the palettes. And I think Cashman actually had from the home screen where you could do that. You could change it to like the white P Mode 3 background.
Yeah, or the green.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, some of the ports they didn't do properly. Like Donkey King, they did the same thing. They just changed the mode. But that has some fine detail and some artifacting colors, so it really doesn't work. It looks like a blurry mess.
Yep.
Whereas this game is specifically written for P Mode 3, and a lot of the Dragon stuff is. So
right, and they make good use.
Nice,
yeah. Actually, I think this is only P Mode 1, to be honest.
Oh yeah, it's actually P Mode 1. Yeah.
Yep. But it looks
That's why I said it would run on the MC10. Literally, I wasn't joking about that.
Yeah.
Looks good. All right, we've probably seen enough of this one. We can beat this one to death.
And this mode would use half the res too of a P Mode 3, so this would be a 3K graphic screen, which it makes it more manageable if you want to do the animations and the sprites. You're only dealing with 3K of RAM.
Yeah, so you can make the game run proportionally faster.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is a fairly early version too. He's still working on it a lot, so it's more like kind of a proof of concept.
Right.
I'm sure, like when he gets to the final versions, he's going to have some sort of masking on the images and stuff like that.
Right.
It's professionally put together, so it's definitely at a commercial grade level.
Sure. I also want to point out that our viewership has been pretty good today. We've gotten as high as like 21 simultaneous viewers. Right now we're around 18 viewers, so we've maintained a fairly steady viewer count. Hopefully we're keeping everybody awake here. Hopefully we're staying on target.
Stay on target.
Which is the goal. And good stuff. Do we have some more news? Anything anybody want to share that they've come across in the World Wide Web of CoCo and Retro?
Well, one thing I wanted to mention, because it's been mentioned by a few other people, including Steve Benford, of doing a special Dragon Games thing and covering some of the new projects that are being made, 'cause there's multiple ones, and then some of the old ones too, just to show some of the stuff that was uniquely on the Dragon originally. And I think we should do a special episode on that at some point, and we can invite them all on and get kind of the European perspective.
Yeah, absolutely. And I've mentioned it several times, and we've tried to get a few people together. Nobody's not on board to do that. It's just coordinating everybody. But I want to call that episode the British Invasion, where we're going to basically get everybody from the UK to talk about the Dragon and all these projects, because there's enough going on there that we can make a whole episode just of that. So those plans are in the works. It's just kind of aligning everybody.
The time zone difference between you and them is a part of the problem, I think, too. So.
Yeah, but I absolutely agree. I'm looking forward to that. Another one, too, Ron Klein. We want to get you on here to talk about Cocoa Pie, even if we have to pre-record it. So let me just throw that out there, too. So, one of the challenges of this show is that we literally have people around the world in the CoCo community. So we try to find times that seem to work for most of the people most of the time. Our 2 p.m. time slot worked for most of us. It worked for most of the world, and Nick Marents is a trooper to get up at 4 a.m. to join us. But we're gonna play around with the idea of having different shows at different times to appease different schedules and things like that. And that's the one thing I didn't get to do, was to add a calendar to CoCoTalk.live. But be on the lookout for that. When you go to the website, CoCoTalk.live, I'm going to have a calendar, and we are going to talk about what episodes will be airing at what times, and we'll try to let everybody know in advance. So every now and then we'll do a Friday night show. Sometimes we'll do a Saturday morning or a Saturday evening. There's always going to be holidays or special events or life events. So the schedule will vary from time to time to accommodate the group and accommodate the audience, and just sometimes just give us a break by not having to take up the middle of a Saturday, But that'll be coming. And the one that I know of right now for sure is December the 16th. And this is when Bruce Moore is going to pick a winner for the second round of Forest of Doom. So the next chalice, right? So whoever... there was the one cup for the first person to win it. So there's going to be a second round contest for everybody who got their books late. And that's going to be Saturday, December the 16th. And I don't remember if we're doing that one at noon or 2 p.m. But just know on that date, that's kind of the topic for that. And we'll put that on the calendar. So good stuff. What else we got in the way of news around the web?
I don't know if you've gotten far enough in the CoCo Crew podcast to, like, sometimes we do our kind of a follow-up just to kind of discuss the topics they discussed. I don't know if you've gotten far enough along for us to do that this episode, or maybe we should wait till next week.
I got to just the beginning of the interview, so I heard the news and the announcements, and the first panel discussion is about as far as I got.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll wait till next week then, because the Infocom stuff was quite interesting, and the interview as well as the blogs that John's been doing on how the whole engine works, and how you can create your own, etc.
I mean, if you guys are here and John's here and you want to talk about it, don't let me get in the way of that.
You up for that, John?
Sounds like the cat is.
Well, while we're waiting on John, if he returns, I have a question for you, Steve.
Yeah, sorry, my mic was off. Go ahead.
We're just Curtis was going to mention. I haven't gotten to that part of the podcast yet, but he's going to mention that he, talking about the Infocom segment and everything else that's on the podcast this month. I don't know if you're up for talking about that while we're all here.
I'm happy to talk if anybody's got any comments or questions or whatever.
Well, I found the interview with the guy from Infocom was quite fascinating, just in general. And then I noticed you've been doing the blogs of how the Infocom Z engine works. And I was wondering, did the interview inspire you to write that blog, or did you write the blog and then try to find somebody to interview? How did that work?
So we've actually had that interview in the can for a couple of months. Let's see, I guess if you've read the blogs, I mentioned the paper from Kansas Fest. And that came out in July, I guess. And when that came out, I kind of messed around and started with the beginnings of the project. and just started playing around and figuring things out or whatever. And then so that inspired me to kind of look a little bit more into things. And somewhere on the internet, I found an old forum post or probably a news group post where Mr. Moriarty there, Brian, mentioned that he had done the interpreter for the CoCo. And so I got kind of excited, tried to reach out and find him and Google around or whatever, and kind of came across his Twitter handle. And so I just tweeted him and said, hey, you want to talk about this or whatever. And kind of to my surprise, like within an hour, he responded, yeah, that'd be great. Let's talk. And so we got together and had the discussion. I don't know if you could tell, it was a little hard to get a word in on some places. He kind of, I think he's done these talks before, but still pretty good talk or whatever. And then, we're kind of waiting for the show topics to kind of line up or whatever. And so I did a little more research, which led to the discovering the different versions of the interpreter and all that. So it's kind of a long project, really.
Okay.
But yeah, in fact, now I think I need to do one more blog post, because in the blogs or in the discussion I mentioned that I think you can do a load M on the interpreter if you don't want to type DOS. I don't know why you would prefer one over the other, I guess. But anyway, I discovered that the load M actually loads a different binary that then loads the interpreter. It's a little technical nit, but I figured I'd cover that too.
Yeah,
anyway.
I think you were mentioning during the interview that there was never a CoCo 3 version of the interpreter even planned, or at least he was kind of past it at that point.
Yeah, I think it just came out too late, really. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, he may have already left Infocom by the time the CoCo 3 came out. So, but anyway, I'm not aware of a CoCo 3 interpreter. Like I said, I thought it was interesting that the versions of the interpreter don't seem to line up with the release dates of the games. I think somebody did respond back that they had a Hitchhiker's Guide with a version D interpreter. So my best guess is just that they would refresh the disk images and once in a while, and just whatever time you bought them probably reflects whatever image or whatever interpreter version you get.
Yeah, it was also interesting too, because at Tandy Assembly you guys had Scott Adams there, of course, who created the engine that the Adventure International used, another text adventure game thing. It would have been kind of interesting if you could have got the two of them at once and compare notes, like, how did you guys do your interpreters and what was different, what was the same.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think we could probably reach out to Scott Adams again at some point. He seems pretty talkative. Let Jesus in the room a little bit, but well, that'll be okay, I guess.
Then we just have to get the Sierra guys to come in.
Cool. I don't have any contacts there, but yeah, no, it's fun to think that you can just go and build your own new game and not have to write any code to do it. At least not any non-game code, I should say.
How big is the actual engine itself? Like, do you know?
I think I was looking. So they reserved 2 tracks on the disc for it, but I think it only takes up about 6K, something like that. So it doesn't take all of that space on its own. So it's not very big. Considering that's a version 3 interpreter, if you're into Infocom stuff. So some of the games, like even some of the classic games, came out on version 5 interpreters. So I'm not sure all of them will run with the CoCo's interpreter. And like I say, if you want to build your own with Inform or something, you'll have to make sure to specify version 3 for the output, which might restrict you on certain types of code. I don't know enough about it to tell you what will or won't work.
Yeah, because the two things I think would be a nice extension is to do a CoCo 3 version where you just tweak it to handle 40 or 80 column screens, and then maybe doing a port to NitrOS9 and put it on the ease of use package. Maybe even make a little, adventure game designer program or something.
Yeah, no, that would be really cool. I don't think it's all that hard to write one. Exercise left for the implementer to do, but I think it could be written even for the later versions of the interpreter. So, like you said, some of their games I think had support for sound and for some graphics. That would be a cool project.
I'll add it to my list.
Yeah, exactly.
Can we get a Linville-ism here and saying, I'm not saying it is a CoCo project, but it could be a CoCo project?
It could be. Well, I mean, there's plenty actually of portable ones out there. And if you want to run an Infocom game on your Linux system or your Macintosh or even on your cell phone, there's stuff out there that'll run them. So one of those might be simple enough to get squeezed through CMOC or something like that. At least with minimal changes. It'd be kind of cool. But like I said, I was kind of hoping at least to stir up. I know of a few people that want to some extent follow in Bruce Moore's footsteps and produce their own adventure games. Yeah. I actually know of a couple in progress. And a good way to write an adventure game, and then, if you're worried about not having a big enough audience or whatever, it wouldn't even be limited to the CoCo, or even not even limited to retro computers at all. You could run them on anything. So, yeah,
this also makes Evan Wright's project come to mind too. His kind of adventure game development
system,
toolkit.
Yep, definitely. But and like you say, Scott Adams had a similar system out there, and his adventure interpreter, I think, is equally well documented. So you could also, I'm sure you could do a similar project with Scott Adams' adventure stuff if somebody's looking for a project there.
Yeah, and then Sierra's, of course, if you want to get to the graphical slightly later in time side, that's all been done. And then, I mean, even Guillem has ported some of the homemade games for the Sierra interpreters that are now running on the CoCo as well. So we've got 3 adventure game engines we could potentially pull into.
Yep, definitely. So nothing to stop you if you want to write your own game, and just because you can't don't think you can write the code, or at least the code in BASIC or whatever. I'm sure there's code components to the Z machine, and I imagine there's probably code components to the other ones as well, but they're a little more specific to writing the game. So hopefully that would be simple enough.
There you have it.
Yeah, it's a good way to have some fun. And like I said in the intro to one of my blogs, I mean, we have a lot of projects that pop up in the community, and they're great projects. But even my video player, you can play a video, but it takes a lot of work if you want to start from scratch or whatever. And there's other media players and other projects that show up that. You got a media player but no media to play, or you can monitor the temperature in your greenhouse or whatever, but not everybody has the parts to put it together. So it's kind of cool to have a project that you immediately can consume some existing content, or almost immediately.
I'm thinking of 3 words that come to mind for that.
Well, I actually could put. I've got a make file. If you're familiar with make, I have a make file that can. If you have the story file and the Infocom source disk in the directory, you can type make, and it'll produce a new Infocom or a new game with the Infocom interpreter. So it's pretty easy from that perspective. Like I said, it's probably, I'm pretty sure it's technically or legally piracy, but so I'm a little reluctant to just put it out there, I guess, but it's not that difficult to do. I did give you the commands.
Yeah, no, it's something I'd like to look into, either the Scott Adams or the Infocom, and see about maybe porting it to CoCo 3 so you could use the higher text modes, and then also for NitrOS9, because that'd be a nice Having it on a CoCoSDC where you've got an entire hard drive, 120 meg, you could write one heck of an adventure game in that much space.
Sure.
Well, and just to tie it all together here, if you're familiar with the name Alan Cox, who's from the Linux world, but he actually dabbles in the MC10, and he wrote a Scott Adams adventure interpreter for the MC10.
Wow.
And you can do basically the same kind of project on the MC10 with the Scott Adams adventures.
Oh, wow. Yeah, because a lot of those only required 16K, so that would work because they were cassette based.
Yeah. So,
whereas I think Infocom was pretty well solid disk, and I think they used a good chunk of the disk for most of their adventures, so they were a bit bigger scale.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to listening to the rest of the interview now at this point too. Very cool.
It's some cool tales in there. I won't spoil any of them, but there's some pretty interesting stuff.
There's one other thing on the interpreters. I didn't quite trace this one down yet, but as I was testing one of the games from the CoCo Color Computer archives, when it comes up, of course it's not true lowercase because it's the CoCo, or at least not without your special version or whatever. But it does come up and displays the text with the the inverted letters on some of them, whereas all the rest of them are all just pure uppercase. So I'm not really sure what it is that causes that one to be in lowercase. But if you want to hack that around and figure it out, maybe you can display them in lowercase on your CoCo 2Bs or whatever.
Or the CoCo 3 for that matter.
Right. So there's another challenge.
That sounds easier. I might be able to handle that one.
Forget which one. It was one of them.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, I'm definitely looking forward to listening to the rest of the podcast. And everyone who's watching us now, that is also your homework assignment. If you haven't finished episode 30 of the CoCo Crew podcast, there is going to be a pop quiz next week to review that.
Content and even a guest game review.
Yes, very nice, very nice. All right, so have we beat the news to death?
I think so.
All right, so we're gonna run a commercial, and then we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk about our global events, which is going to be right now CoCo Fest, and it should be probably a short discussion right now, but we'll get more in depth as we get closer. And I think Grant, you said you had when you said you had a question for Steve. Is it for me or Mr. Bjork?
For you, I'm sorry.
All right, so we're going to take a question. We'll come back. We'll get to Grant's question, then we'll talk about CoCo Fest. So be right back, people.
Hey, everybody. This is Bill Noble, co-author of NitrOS9. You are listening to CoCoTALK Live, the leading live CoCoTALK show.
Good day, mates. This is Nick Marionettes, author of such color computer titles as Donut Disaster, Rupert Rhymes, and Rockstar Pilot. And I am here today to tell you about the world's most fabulous operating system, OS9. OS9 and its current incarnation, NitrOS9, is the most advanced operating system ever created. And what makes it so good? Ease of use. I find OS9 so incredibly intuitive that I haven't once cracked open the user manual, and yet I've been able to create such incredible games faster than the time it takes to sing Waltzing Matilda. Using OS9, I expect my next game, Funstar, will be done this weekend and distributed exclusively on ROM cartridge. OS9 forever.
Any resemblance to actual events to persons living or dead is purely coincidental.
There we go. A little testimonial there for OS9.
Nick, I would sue.
That never gets old.
with the Curtis's EU version of OS9, I purposely didn't read the manual. I wanted to see, so that part's true. I wanted to see how ease of use is it if I don't read the manual, and it works fine.
So far,
even
so
I
good.
can do it.
That's the biggest testimonial I've ever heard. Thank you.
There you go.
By the way, I'm really liking your shirt there, Grant. We could be twinsies right now. Yes. So anybody who wants to grab themselves a CoCoTALK T-shirt right now, 20% off if you use promo code. Wait for it to come up on the screen here. Sale 2017. All right. So what is your question?
You have those propeller hats he's got as well.
That's going to be a prize for the second person to complete Forest of Doom.
And the second prize is an MC10.
Without the expansion pack.
Is that the penalty for cheating? Instead of the douche mug, we're going to give him an MC10. There you go, cheater.
There you go. There's your fruitcake.
What do you got for us, Grant?
Well, I have a question. I think you mentioned it last week that you purchased a joystick for the CoCo Pi. I was just wondering how that went, and is it worth buying that one?
Well, let's put it this way: the joystick paired easily. The joystick paired. Now, that's one thing that I would like to talk to Ron Klein about, is maybe putting that in the menu, because we had to kind of Google what the command was to get the pairing of the joystick. The joystick paired, and it paired with no problem. My first test of the joystick found it to be not centered or calibrated, so I need to play with that. And kind of my go-to first thing I check is Polaris, and if I can move everything around with fluid precision, then I know I've got a good controller. And I found that when I was dead center, I couldn't get to the top or the bottom. It was very off kilter, and so I can't blame that on CoCo Pi. I have to do some testing of the controller to see if it's the controller itself, or if there are things in MAME that need to be done to kind of calibrate it and figure out what the dead zones and center zones are and stuff like that. But the pairing of the controller was not difficult.
Cool. So buy or don't buy or wait?
I would say wait on this particular model, because I don't know. Now, Ron Klein swears about the Wii U Pro controller, which is like a Bluetooth version of an Xbox 360 one. And he has used it. Rick Adams says he's used it and it worked, but he just found the actual control. He didn't like the controller, but he didn't mention it didn't center or anything like that. So I think the verdict is still out, because, again, I don't know, is it the controller not the right controller, or do I have to figure out some settings? So on my particular model, the verdict is not in, but in general, the process works.
Great. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right, so we are going to be featuring news and events from around the world, and it used to be that we had an annual migration. We now have basically a semi-annual migration, because in addition to CoCo Fest, which is our once-a-year trip, we now also have Tandy Assembly. But, we're looking at, 4 months away from CoCo Fest, roughly 4 or 5 months away?
5, yeah.
Yep, and we at least have the dates of CoCo Fest. And it should be noted that CoCo Fest was kind of the inspiration for CoCoTALK. This year, actually, it was around late March when we started CoCoTALK in anticipation of going to this year's CoCo Fest. And so in order to get to information of CoCo Fest, you can go to glensideccc.com, which is the Glenside Color Computer Club. Also links there on my I'm a Coconut links page. So we have the dates now, right? April 21st and April 22nd of 2018. So it's always been roughly around the same time. We have some of the cost. The 2-day event is $15 to get in. It is at the same location at the Heron Point Convention Center, where you can touch the heron. And we have the special overnight room rate of roughly $100 per night for the room. And we've got the phone number here, 630-629-1500. Mention Glenside CoCo Fest. And I think that helps, right? So you could call your travel agent, and it's not necessarily about saving the money. It's really more about letting the club get the credit for bringing the people into the door. It just helps them kind of get the points with the event, so they know that it was worthwhile for them to have this event. So I don't think we've got anything else right now as far as speaker lineups or presentations or anything like that. Probably a bit too soon for that. But there you have it. The next event, and what we will be talking more about as time goes on and as information is released, is what's going to be happening this year at CoCo Fest, and if there going to be a theme, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. This is the 27th annual last Chicago CoCo Fest. So that's impressive in itself right there.
And I was just going to ask a quick question. Steve Bjork, did you help Glenside design their site, or were you hosting it or something at some point?
I designed it, and I'm also hosting it.
Oh, okay. I thought that was correct. So.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So based on who's in the panel right now, who thinks they're going to go, or would at least try to go if they can? Curtis
I'm
Boyle.
going.
Ron Delvaux is going to be there. It'd be great to meet you in person, Ron.
I want to go. I want
to go.
Mark Overholser, Grant Leighty. Hopefully we can get Curtis to carpool. I mean, I get Bill to carpool with Curtis. All right.
Hopefully.
Are you guys close enough to each other in driving distance of each other?
Yeah, we're about, 65, 70 miles apart?
Yeah.
Not bad. It'd be cool if you can get Dwayne to come, too.
That's a bit more slim. His work schedule where he's flying all over literally the world these days, doing installs and tech support. It's hard to get him pinned down.
Yeah.
I believe David Ladd's going.
David Ladd will be going. Hopefully the CoCo crew will be there.
If for some reason I'm not there, please call the Alamance County Health and Human Services to recruit.
What color alert is this? Is this a nuclear green alert that we have to call on? Code green. We can't find John Linville.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get with Tony or who's ever in charge of the event. They have 2017 information up, not 2018.
Yeah, the additional pages are not up to date, but the first page is. So.
Yeah.
Usually we're lucky to get it all updated by the day before the event.
Wait,
considering that I made their website have ease of use. They log in and they can edit it right there on the screen.
Right.
The old way of doing it was somebody would have to FTP up the files.
Right. If you can create some type of DynaCalc interface, then maybe they could do it from their CoCo 3. It might speed up the process.
Interface.
Yeah.
I guess I add an ease of use DynaCalc to the NitrOS9.
No.
Actually, Curtis, it's there. It's just missing one file.
Yeah, I know. I tried running and it crashed.
Yeah, it's missing the dynacalc.term file.
Yeah, I think Dynastar's on there too, if I remember.
Very cool.
And maybe John Linville can answer this question. Any movement on PayPal prepaying or using credit cards at the auction?
Well, it's been mentioned to them at their monthly meetings, and it's sort of been hand waved over to somebody supposedly looking at it.
Okay.
Now, I related to them that when I looked at it for Tandy Assembly, I had it set up within 20 minutes, but that did not seem to convince anyone. So we'll see.
Yeah. I basically made the same plea at the end of last year's show. And I emailed Tony and the treasurer and a few other people. But what can you do? You know, all you can do is inform. You can lead the horse to water, I suppose.
Now you got to remember, for over 25 years, a quarter of a century, what has worked has worked.
Yeah, but they're a little bit outdated now.
Yeah.
Well, you got to remember, it's a convention for an outdated computer. Everything else has got to be outdated.
Yeah.
It's part of the theme.
They're ostensibly open to the idea. They are modernizing a few things. They've got someone working on modernizing their database access, so hopefully you won't have to be logged in at the actual CoCo updating the spreadsheet. They're in line at the CoCo Fest or whatever, although maybe that'll still be there. But so yeah, they are hoping to update a few things. It's kind of slow going some ways, but I don't know. I haven't paid as much attention to organizing CoCo Fest because, as you know, I was sort of involved in something else for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, blogging about Infocom, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That's part of it too. But yeah, I mean, they are aware of these things, and at least giving some lip service to changing them. I'm not really sure when the progress will occur. I did encourage them to go ahead and get the card reader for on-site use of the cards, whatever. I hope they noted that at least in their minutes, but beyond that, I'm not sure.
Well, I think it would help the auction too, because
Yes.
again, not everybody carries cash or significant amounts of cash, and it would help with impulse buys, and it would help them sell more things. I know. On the one hand, it's real easy to nitpick about what they aren't doing, but let's not forget what they are doing and what they have done now for 27 years. They've maintained an annual event. It's one that I am going to. It's one that I'm looking forward to. I don't want to take anything away from that. It's the thing is, there's so much good about it. It's just easier to nitpick the 2 or 3 things that we wish were gooder.
Well, one thing is, seriously, a lot of us don't use it anymore. We hate seeing it when somebody does it at the grocery store, but you can bring your frickin' checkbook.
I've been told by 1 or 2 vendors they don't like taking Canadian checks because it's a pain in the ass at the bank.
Rate of conversion and stuff, right? Okay.
Yeah, but the other problem is taking cash with you, especially if you're traveling. If you're driving, it's very dangerous to carry large sums of cash like that.
Yeah.
So
there's one other issue that sometimes has been raised. I'm not sure how serious an issue this is, but they are officially organized as a not-for-profit, so they legitimately don't want to actually make a profit, or at least, I guess it complicates their taxes and whatever else. Since they have essentially made or broke even as is, the idea of making more money on the auction is only so appealing.
Okay. Okay.
So I don't know. I mean,
okay. Yeah.
It'd be no.
Well, that's probably one of the reasons why they haven't raised their rates for admission in 20 years.
Yeah.
Actually, I think they reduced them over the time because I think it used to be more expensive.
Yeah. It's $15 for 2 days.
Yeah.
I can't even park anywhere around here for 2 hours for $15.
Yes. All right. Well, I think we're coming closer to the end of the show now. We have gone over our news. We've gone over our primary topic. We've plugged the event of the week. So maybe one more commercial, then we'll get into some closing thoughts and plugs and anything else. So if there's anything you haven't said yet that you want to say, have it ready, have it fresh on the tip of your tongue, and we'll be right back after these announcements.
Hi, this is Randy Kindig of the Floppy Days podcast. I just love me some CoCo, and nobody covers it better than Steve Strobridge. You're listening to CoCoTALK.
We're traveling through a dimension both of sound and ideas. We're at a place where the mind can comprehend and devise a solar radio, a wireless transmitter, measure time and light. 65 electronic projects brought to reality with this science fair kit. Astonishing? Perhaps. But you can find it for Christmas for $17.95 in a place that's known as Radio Shack.
Radios, stereos, recorders, everything in sound.
Picture, if you will. Love that commercial. Love that.
I hadn't seen that one before. That's cool.
Yeah, very cool. So, closing thoughts, I'd like to say once again, I am thankful for the color computer community. I'm thankful for everybody who has donated their time and energy to not only be a part of the show every week, but to also, most recently, we're having a lot of planning and production meetings. Just coming up with ideas to improve the show and just to fine-tune it. So I'm thankful for everybody who's a part of it, both on the panel and in the audience. And so thank you all for that. It literally warms my heart that we have people who are this interested in what we're doing here, and I'm grateful for that.
Yeah, and I'd like to express my gratitude to Steve here for all the improvements he's done that you can even see on the screen right now, like the bug in the corner that if you're just watching a podcast later on, you'll know exactly what episode you're on, what date it was from, the title of the show, in case you forgot. And just, going through all the turmoil of getting your bandwidth problems fixed by having to switch to a different internet service provider, but that seems to have resolved itself. And then you've got a lot of other stuff that you didn't have time to finish for this episode, but there's a lot of work you're putting into it, and I think we all appreciate that.
Yes, very much so.
And
And although here in Australia we don't have Thanksgiving's Day, I'll pass my thanks as well to the entire CoCo community, which has been supporting the work of a lot of other people in the community who are creating products. I mean, in my case, I did the Popstar pilot, so I'm very thankful for the support I've had of all the people who purchased it. But we're seeing a trend where there's more people coming out creating programs or software, creating hardware, and the CoCo community is showing their support by showing an interest and buying it or whatever. So I think overall, thanks to the entire CoCo community for supporting the community itself. It helps it grow, it makes it healthy, and it just grows. I've been seeing on the Facebook group there's a lot of new CoCo users out there, or CoCo users who people who used to have a CoCo have found Steve's this website, this live chat, and discovered the Facebook and just see the enthusiasm that the entire community is putting towards it. So thanks to the community.
Agreed.
I'm thankful that Alan Huffman finally found a podcast, even if it wasn't mine.
Oh my Lord.
And can I just also throw up the Popstar pilot commercial just to let people know that I still have copies available for sale. So I've just got the commercial queued up here. If I can just play that, just to let people know that Christmas is coming.
By all means.
That's right. I'll just put it up there that they are still available, especially to all those new users out there. You can purchase it, and this is the screen coming up now. I don't know. Can you see that as yet?
Yes, we can.
All right. Now, there's no sound, so I haven't shared the audio yet. But
flicker-free graphics.
Yeah, that's right. Except that it's just paused.
I think David Ladd broke it.
There you go. So, yep, this is the game I developed for anyone who's new to it. I developed it a year ago, and it's been a very good seller that has prompted me to continue working on the color computer, and I'm going to create more programs, and I think it's also encouraged a few other people. Shows that there is a market for games. So we're seeing the fruits of that by programs like Forest of Doom and the other wood chopping game. I can never remember the names.
Timberman.
Yeah, it's right. It's good to see this sort of healthy community going. So as far as my Popstar pilot, it still is available, and just email me or go to my website and you'll get all the details there if it's still there. Besides, I need the Christmas money, so.
I was going to mention, Nick. I mean, this game Popstar for you reversed the trend. Like sales of your last few games, sales were going down as the market petered out. Between Pac-Man and Gatecrafter, right. And this reversed it. This actually shot back up.
Totally, that's right. I mean, I thought, well, the color computer community is dying off. It's inevitable. It's an old computer. How long can it last? I only started programming it because I just had a few new ideas, and I thought, what the hell, I don't care if anyone doesn't buy it. I just want to see if I can do it. As it turned out, it just became very, it turned out as I expected, and people supported it and bought it. So that's convinced me that there is a market, and we're seeing the fruits of that from more people now developing software and hardware. I mean, overall, the entire community is healthy.
Yep, I agree.
You should take a look at the Show Us Your Tandy Color Computer on Facebook. There's a guy on there, Glenn Taylor, who has quite a healthy collection.
The CoCo TV, you mean?
No, he's talking about not the. You're talking about Glenn Taylor, not Roger Taylor.
Oh,
yeah, it's Glenn. Yeah, so Yeah, Ron Klein has got a group. Now, here's something funny, right? So it was brought up, and I'm not going to beat an old horse, but this is interesting. So we have the Color Computer Facebook group, which is a social media community. Yet Ron Delvaux has come up with an OS9 group, and he's even come up with another group that's called Show Us Your Tandy Color Computer, where people can just post nothing but CoCo pics. And I think they're both great additions, but one of the topics was, well, are we going to divide and fragment? Are there too many resources? Are there too many things? And I think this is a good example of how, no, not necessarily. I mean, Facebook is Facebook. If you can't figure out how to manage more than one group, then, maybe you shouldn't use technology. But I think these are great additions to the Color Computer group, because Color Computer group is kind of like a general chat. And yes, people do throw pictures, but it's nice to have this one area that just becomes like, people's personal collections in a group to its own. So check that one out too. Show Us Your Tandy Color Computer group on Facebook. If I don't have it on I'm a Coconut, I need to get it there. I know I've got the OS9 group there, so we might need to update that website.
And that's a good website for promoting it to new people outside of the community. Find it and look at it and see all these pictures. They'll gain an interest in the Color Computer. They say, oh yeah, I used to have one of those, or I collect computers. This one looks like it's a good one to collect, looking at all the pictures. So it does have a different audience, which could be beneficial to the community as a whole in the long term.
Right. Now, did that replace the Ron's Garage group, Ron, or is Ron's Garage still there too?
Well, Ron's Garage is more for me to post from.
Okay.
So I have a record, and so I can find stuff, because a lot of times when you, when you try to contribute with different groups and stuff, you kind of lose track of where's my black computer, where's my this or that. So if I post it from the Ron's Garage, then I know where stuff is. I can search in that. But otherwise, if I didn't have that and I just posted here and there, it's tough to find stuff that you posted and remember stuff or bring it up again or whatever.
Very cool. Well, we certainly appreciate your added contributions to the community.
Yep, thanks.
Yeah.
Yep. And I have a couple things I would like to mention. First of all, make sure that if you haven't joined the Discord group, it is open, so make sure you join. There's a lot of good information in there. Also, if you haven't subscribed to the CoCoTALK YouTube channel, we're only 3 away from 100 subscribers. So let's try to break that before next week.
Oh wow! Look at that, the CoCoTALK YouTube channel. I haven't even been paying attention to that. Very cool stuff.
Yeah, there's been a lot of good late night discussions on there on virtually every topic under the sun.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And the moon too.
And on that same note, we've gotten a couple viewer feedbacks from Discord and also from the I'm a CoCoNut email address. So we will try to get to those questions here probably in a few weeks once things settle down after the holidays, and add those to the show as well.
Very cool. Should probably say hi to everybody who's been watching us in the live chat now too. So Steve Powell has been in the live chat. So has Ron Klein and Stu Kenley. And Tom C. was in there. Steve Powell was in there. Fedor stopped by. And who else is in the live chat right now? Coco Man came by. And Coco Man also says that I have Steve to blame for my rekindled interest in the CoCo. And Alexander Wallace also just jumped in and from Mexico. Hello, Alexander. And Tom C. says, thanks to Steve and company for another great show. So, yeah, I think we kept the show on target. We kept it tight. And I want to thank everybody who watched and everybody who was here. As far as upcoming events and things to plug, I'll just throw out there again that December 16th will be the Forest of Doom's second mug giveaway, and probably live stream too. So we're probably going to live stream some gameplay as well as go over who won the second round of the contest of the next mug for Forest of Doom. So that's my plug for an upcoming show. Anybody got anything they want to plug for next week or in general?
Yeah, I do. Anyway, I was kind of quiet about current projects going on, but I have 3 of them going on, and I don't I just have code names for them because I just don't want to go into like creature or feature creep or but one of them I should have a lot of news next week. I'm calling it Project Mercury, and then I have one called Tin Can, and I have one called Boomerang.
Boomerang.
Yes.
Nick will like that one.
Yep.
Boomerang's when you throw an MC10 and it comes back, right?
Yeah, that's it. But I have production boards made for Mercury right now, and once they get in, I'm going to put them together, see if they work, and hopefully by next week I'll have some news about that one.
Very cool.
Hey, Steve?
Yes, Mark.
Oh, I was just going to say, Tom C. had joined the Discord chat just this last week, and he is saying he has listened to all of our episodes so far, and I think he's listened to most of the CoCo crew as well. And he said he's really gotten to know us very well, all the people that chip in and all that, so it's kind of like...
And he's still hanging around, huh?
Yeah, he's still hanging around.
Yeah. Probably 33 out of the 34 shows. You're probably saying, that's 4 hours of my life I can never get back. That's great. No, that's great. We're glad to have you, Tom. And you're always welcome to join us on the Skype call, too. We let David Ladd on, so obviously we've got very low standards here.
Oh, there was one other news thing I forgot to mention was because I was ordering a new batch of 6309 processors, and apparently something's going on in China. They have a lot of the distributors out there have raised their prices on it, and I have no idea why. But I managed to get mine at the same price, and but I'm actually cheaper than some of the suppliers out in China.
Wow.
Yeah, which is
interesting.
Yeah, really interesting.
Good for you.
Yes.
What are the prices going up to?
Some of them are going up to $2 to $3 each, and I'm still holding at $2.99.
Supply and demand.
Yeah.
Supply and demand. So
and then you add shipping on that too. It's almost cheaper to get it through me, and you don't have to wait 2 weeks for it as well.
But the poor chip doesn't get its nice boat ride that way.
Yeah.
Well, it did at one time.
So I'll warn you guys in advance, there is a new outro clip too, which is featuring a very cool track that Bruce Moore has donated to the show. And it's a little bit long, but I think the music itself is really good. It's about a 2.5 minute outro clip. And for about the first minute or so of it too, you're going to hear my annoying voice kind of running some credits and thank yous too. So this is going to be the first time you guys are going to hear and see it. And after hearing and seeing it, you might say, okay, we need to cut that down. So we'll find out. But I did spend a decent amount of time on it, and I think the music itself is worth listening to in its entirety because it's a great kind of grooving track that Bruce has donated to the show. All right, and on that note, anybody got anything else before we wrap up episode 35?
I'll do my last little plug. My haunt hackers that I do for people that want to make handmade props that talk, stuff like that. Go to haunthackers.com or just do a Google search. That's it.
All right, I
Very
thought I
good.
heard somebody else. Ron, were you getting ready to say something?
Yeah. On my Show Us Your Tandy Color Computer, there was a box that somebody put up that in Australia, Tandy sold a Color Computer 3 and a couple of joysticks and a cassette player all in one unit. Has anybody ever seen that before?
Yeah.
It's the first time I ever saw
Nick
it.
showed it to us before.
It also includes my donut dilemma, if I recall.
Yeah.
In the software.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting little package. I've seen that once before, though. Yeah, but that's something I've seen very often, and I've only seen recently.
That's too bad Tandy didn't do that elsewhere, like in the States and Canada and
UK.
It would have been nice to have
Bruce
that
Moore
package.
is calling in. You want to let Bruce on the show right before we end there? Our Skype engineer, Grant Leighty.
Working overtime now.
He's got the hat.
He's just going for the credits. Get his name on the credits this week.
Yes.
As long as he doesn't ask what you guys been talking about.
Hey, what's the topic this week?
Stay on target. Stay on target.
All right. Well, I'm not sure if Bruce is going to join us, but we're going to go ahead and run the outro credits. So prepare to be assaulted with the music.
He can comment on it afterwards since he wrote the song if he gets
All right. Here we go, people. Thank you for watching CoCoTALK, the world's leading live talk show featuring the Tandy Color Computer. For all things CoCoTALK, visit us on the web at cocotalk.live. We'd love to hear from you. Send feedback, suggestions, even segments via email to cocotalk@cocotalk.live. If you love the color computer like we do, then visit imacoconut.com for all your color computer needs. Consider supporting the show with a purchase of merchandise from our retro swag shop at 8bit256.com. If you'd like to become a patron of the show, we'd love for you to visit our Patreon site at patreon.com/OGStevieStro. CoCoTALK would not exist without the community and its cast and crew. Thanks go to Curtis Boyle, David Ladd, Mark Overholser, Grant Leighty, Bruce Moore, Rick Adams, Ron Delvaux, Richard Lorbieski, Jim Brain, Nick Marents, Karen Anscombe, Simon Jonassen, Wayne Campbell, Steve Batson, John Strong, and Barry Nelson. Special thanks to Steve Bjork for production suggestions. Stay on target, everyone. Please help support the color computer community by visiting some of its contributors. The CoCo Crew podcast at cococrew.org. Glenside Color Computer Club, host of CoCo Fest at glensideccc.com. Jim Brain and Retro Innovations at go4retro.com. Tandy Assembly at tandyassembly.com. Cloud9 Technologies at cloud9tech.com. Well, that's the outro, and technically the show should be over right now. But Bruce is here. Bruce, how are you?
Hey, yeah, I just tuned in just in time to catch the outro. I'm good. How was the show?
The show was good, I think. What do you guys think? Was the show good?
Yeah,
I think it was good.
Well.
Yeah, it was great.
Stay on target.
But you know what? Do you remember the cartoon, the Bugs Bunny cartoon with Daffy Duck was on stage and he was doing his song and dance routine? He was just giving it his all, and right at the end, you know what happened?
No.
Crickets.
I had to play it. Sorry.
There you go.
No, but it was an excellent outro.
Very cool. All right, well, we're going to go off the air live now. So thank you all for watching. This concludes CoCoTALK episode 35.